It's the Infinite Podcast. Go tell your friends. It's the Infinite Podcast. My God, it never ends. It's the Infinite Podcast with Rob and Cork the
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite Podcast, the podcast covering the infinite and ever-expanding multiverse of fandom, from movies, comics, TV shows, video games. We got you covered. I think we're talking about most of that today, actually. It's always fun when we hit the grand slam of topics. I'm Rob. I'm here, as always, with Court. Court, it is time to talk about the X-Men, finally.
Yep. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait. That's it. That's all. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah, we're entering X-Men Renaissance of sorts.
We are.
We got the first two episodes of X-Men 97 today as we're recording this, and we're going to talk about that because...
Not bad.
eyes were opened, I think, for a lot of people, hopefully. And then... we're
going to talk about something just way better.
Yeah, we're talking about like an okay X-Men thing and then the best X-Men thing afterwards. I can't wait. So yeah, we're going to talk about...
Why'd they CGI the claws? They didn't have to CGI the claws in the movie that came out in 2000, but, 2009 said, let's CGI the claws.
Yeah, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about X-Men Origins Wolverine just because we want to.
And this episode's going to consist of me just asking questions about that movie, even before we start talking about the movie.
I'm
going to cut you off at random points and just ask dumb questions.
Several questions will be asked, and none will be answered. But we do have some news, first and foremost. So PAX East is going on today, and one of the major things that came out of PAX East, Marvel related, is we got an official trailer for the Captain America Black Panther period piece game. It is officially called Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra, and boy howdy does it look like it's going to be absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I mean, this game's built for the real engine, for the Unreal Engine.
Yeah, it's built on Unreal Engine 5, which I think GTA 6 is also going to be utilizing.
And I remember when they announced it was during the PS5's inception in 2019, they were talking about and they said this is not gameplay of an actual game, but we're just going to show you what we're capable of.
Like what it's capable of, yeah.
And I've been waiting for the game that's going to take the swing, and I'm glad that Marvel is dipping their toes and going to be one of the first ones to use it. I mean, that's spearheaded by an absolutely incredible finishing sequence for this trailer. With a little dispute between, the Golden Boy himself, Captain America, and T'Challa's grandfather.
Yeah, so we got a look at a couple of the cast members, obviously. So the two, I guess, leads you could guess are Drew Moorline, who I'm not totally familiar with his work, is going to be Captain America, and then Kari Payton, who the voice of Cyborg for many, many years in Teen Titans. And, live action wise, King Ezekiel in The Walking Dead is playing Azuri, who you said is King, the future King T'Challa's grandfather, as he is Black Panther. And yeah, that bridge scene with the two of them, kind of encapsulates roughly kind of how the story's going to go. I mean, it's going to be a classic.
They punch for a bit and then they're friends.
I have my mission, you have your mission. Our missions are colliding with each other,
but we're both heroes, so let's work together.
When we're fighting Nazis. Couple interesting tidbits. We got a couple looks at the other player characters. So there's the Howland Commando person working with Captain America, and then the Wakandan spy working with Black Panther. Apparently both of those characters are going to be player characters, so that's going to be interesting, like controlling non-superpowered people throughout the course of the game. I would assume this is going to be some type of like chapter-based kind of thing, where you spend some time as each character, probably upgrading skills. Wouldn't be surprised though if there will be kind of slightly diverging elements, especially as it relates to the Black Panther Captain America piece. Maybe like there'll be a chapter where you pick one of the two. I think that would give the game some tremendous replayability. Also, no gameplay, but all the stuff that was shown was rendered in engine. So how those cutscenes and everything looked is how the final product is going to look when you actually play it. we could get some type of gameplay thing soon. This is spearheaded by Amy Hennig's new studio, Skydance Media. For those of you who don't know Amy Hennig, she's the writer and creative director for the entire Uncharted series. Besides Uncharted 4, which she did some early storyboarding for before she departed Naughty Dog. She's responsible for the Legacy of Kain series, the Jak and Daxter series. She was briefly attached to the Star Wars 1313 project before she was let go, which Star Wars kind of fumbled the bag in my opinion there. But I mean, they came out with their own, heavy hits. Mm-hmm. So, it looked absolutely sensational. 2025 release date, so next year sometime.
Next year is loaded.
Next year is loaded, yeah. Loaded. I would not be surprised if we get some type of gameplay reveal at the Game Awards. Mm-hmm. That seems like the right place.
Aren't we getting Captain America 4 and this game in the same year?
Yeah. Awesome. That's going to be interesting. Mm-hmm. We might also get a gameplay reveal at Summer Games Fest.
Sure.
Summer Games Fest is 3 months away.
And I think they might not want to hold this now because of how good that was. They probably if the gameplay is going to be as good as the cinematics are, they're probably going to be like, let's get this shown just so we get everybody on board, because there's probably some skepticism around the game, because we've seen if this. The promise that this is going to look how this trailer looked, that's a win. But the other side to this is we need to make sure this gameplay is as tight and as, rock star as possible.
Yeah, and
no pun intended.
And I think superhero games kind of need that immediacy of establishing what the thing is. Because they've, Suicide Squad was a huge miss. Avengers was obviously a huge miss.
But then you get your gems. You get your gems like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy, yep.
Spider-Man. And Guardians of the Galaxy's gem is story-based, which is so rare that, you get a game where, the gameplay is good, but it's nothing that's like knock your socks off. You've seen it before, but the story is so enthralling that you're there. And I think this game might have that same element. If it can marry that, that gameplay with that, we might be in for a classic.
Yeah, I was blown away. We've talked about this game in tidbits here and there, and just the names attached to it, just always excited me. And now that I've actually seen stuff from it, nothing has tempered my expectations or my excitement for it. So that's going to be really exciting. Moving on to other things. Speaking of Star Wars, we got a trailer for the Acolyte. Finally, this kind of mysterious project that's been going on over at Disney. It
has had a lot of, shroud of darkness around it.
Yeah.
I mean, allegorically speaking, because it does seem like the narrative itself is that.
So we got the first trailer, and it did what I think. I always say this about trailers for things that you might not necessarily be familiar with all of the things in it. It intrigued me for sure. So I'm definitely keen to check it out.
First you piqued my interest, but now you have my attention.
Yeah, I'm definitely intrigued. I like this idea of kind of, the Jedi kind of going about their business, and then this huge dark monkey wrench comes into the fold by way of the origin of the Sith and the dark side. I'm super into it. Things look tight. They kind of put it out there. It's so crazy where we're at now with the volume. Because when The Mandalorian came out, people were like, this is going to be the future of cinematography. And now, like, this show in particular, like, going out of its way to be like, nope, we didn't use the volume for this.
We shot this. We shot this thing.
So it's, it's kind of...
Which is it's to further that point. It is kind of interesting when you think about it broad spectrum, because, again, it goes down to my point I feel like week in, week out, it's all about your personnel. Yeah. I mean, who are you using on the volume? You're using Greg Fraser on the volume, who is a multi-Oscar winner cinematographer. And then you go, later seasons of The Mandalorian, and, some of these people, obviously they're better than me and you at using it, but it's just, there's a lack of some understanding, and that could also be studio insight. They're probably pumping this thing out of, we just need this. We don't really care about how good it looks. I don't want you to think about
using it as a crutch.
Right. Or we don't want you to think about the cinematic sense. Get Jack Black in this episode. That's probably what they were more worried about.
Yeah, but I mean, overall, do you have any kind of other thoughts on the Acolyte trailer?
No, I mean, obviously the High Republic has been a hot ticket item for Star Wars. I mean, you had the books that were kept coming out, the Rise of the, all those books it was like the biggest thing. Obviously you had Jedi Survivor, which, focused heavily on the High Republic era, just bringing Dagon Gera back into the modern, quote unquote modern age. But I'm intrigued. It's something that I told you. In terms of the actual Jedi that aren't named Skywalker, I think we can use some more of that desperately, and I think that's out of a longing for what Andor did. Just this sect of Star Wars that wasn't tethered to anything in a major way. I'd say obviously it's a direct prequel to Rogue One, but I'm talking feel wise. It wasn't necessarily tethered to anything. It was, narratively you can kind of pick and choose what you want to do. I think that Star Wars needs that a little bit right now, and I hope we get this in a live action sense. But if this show can play in a way that's somewhere cross between tonally wise where The Mandalorian and where Andor was, I think that's going to be a good sign. Obviously you want to make sure your performances are money, but all signs are pointing north, and I think this show could be pretty decent.
Yeah, I think the heavy lifting that the show has to do in a way that even Andor nor The Mandalorian really had to do was they really have to establish character kind of immediately, because obviously Andor had the anger of Cassian Andor character that people were familiar with. The Mandalorian didn't have that, but it had a recognizable thing. Like people kind of always wanted this type of bounty hunter show. Right. Whereas this, it's kind of just a concept. Mm-hmm. Whereas I feel like that first episode, I think the first 2 episodes are coming out the same day, which they're doing that more and more often now. Yep.
Oh, they did it today.
They did it today. Yep. I think those first 2 episodes have to really nail the character down, or characters. Mm-hmm. Whatever the case is, because the concept will only take you so far. Right. If you don't have, I think, a show that did that really well was Gen V.
Sure. Yep.
Gen V did that really, really well.
Mm-hmm. You got to establish characters, and you got to establish why it's credible to this world. There's 3 things you need to do. It's the story. You got to set up what this concept that you're doing is, but because I was just listening to the Talking Pictures podcast. I was listening to Bill Hader talk about it, and he said this concept that they were talking about on South Park. It's not this thing happens and then this thing happens. It's this thing happens because this thing happened, because this thing happened, therefore this thing shall happen. It's such an interesting concept. So, in a realm, I know I'm going to take that farther. In a realm when you're talking about a property, like something that's already established, that's even infinitely more difficult. And, one of the big things from the show is one of the main writers on the show had never seen Star Wars, and they made it a point because then they can start to question some things that are happening, which on paper, that makes a lot of sense. I don't want them to be tethered to this thing that they used to love when they were kids, because that's when you start to slip into things that will, logic will fan service will supersede logic. And, I feel like Andor is a prime case study of, they could have been all Star Wars fans in that room, but logic always superseded fan service. And then it was a nice marriage in between. This show on a Jedi level, if it can do that, is gonna work.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, another show that kind of has that kind of challenge going for it, and the director kind of directly confronted it. I guess we could talk about it next. Is Fallout. Mm-hmm. Fallout kind of has a similar thing. So we got a first proper clip of it, and I continue to be excited for the show.
Yes, and it keeps ramping. It keeps getting more and more and more.
Again, I think it's super great that they're putting the whole thing out in one shot. It's not going to be a weekly thing. And then Jonathan Nolan came out this week, caught some heat from the fandom community at large when he said that he doesn't think that he was speaking for Fallout specifically when he said that he didn't care to cater to the fans, and I know that caught a lot of attention and a lot of heat, but I think he's right. I don't want to be crucified, but I think he's right to take that approach, because that's how you end up in the fan service trap. I think especially in the case of adaptation and remakes of anything, if you have a clear and cut vision for the thing, and you understand what it is you're adapting, then you don't have to listen to fan feedback on it in the sense of why isn't this thing in there? Or you have to incorporate this. It's obviously good to include some nods, some references. Those are all fun. But if you're just trying to do a thing by the fans for the fans, mm-hmm. then you end up in a really dangerous spot. And I think where this Fallout show is succeeding for me, at least from the trailers and the clips, is it feels like the world is understood. Yep. And they're just inserting these new characters into it. And I think that's the way to do it.
It's the whole point. you have to let logic marry the fan service. It can't be the fan service can't be the driver in the seat, because that driver is erratic. That driver is, compulsive, unfortunately, and we've seen it. We've seen the negative connotations of all those ideas. So
Rise of
Skywalker is a great example. As much as No Way Home is a fun movie, it's not on paper the best movie, because you know what the penance of that movie is? The first half of that movie is the penance of what the second half tries to do. So, looking broad spectrum, big picture, I think a show like Fallout, and I'm like 80-20 on that point, because I still think a little bit, you still need to understand what you're making. But again, I think the point that he was trying to make is, I'm making this, if it's bad, it's bad. You guys will tell me, but I'm making this thing as a Fallout fan still. I'm not just making it as some random guy. So, let's take Sandman for example. Dune Dune Part 2 is a perfect example of this. You know how much stuff they could. I mean, spoiler alert, but all the Aaliyah stuff is the perfect thing to think about. Did you want a toddler running around with a knife murdering people in the movie? Would that have worked for this story and this tone that they were going for?
Right.
No. The way that they approached it makes way more sense for the story. That's all you have to do. Does this make sense for the project we are making right now?
Yep. Totally agreed. And I mean, another movie that, a Marvel movie that did fan service, quote unquote, really, really well, I think is Avengers Endgame.
Sure.
Yep. When you talk about, what was the fan theory for a bajillion years in the MCU? Can Captain America wield Mjolnir?
Yep.
What's one of the best moments in Avengers Endgame is when that exact thing happens.
And then it's also character too, and it's the microcosm of what made Captain America Captain America. He'll stand against anybody if it means doing the right thing, and he was immediately rewarded by one of the the final Avengers assemble everybody together. That's rewarding for a character arc from the start, from 2010 to 2019. That's what that is.
Yeah, so I mean, there's ways to implement it, but you don't necessarily, have to cater to the fans, and I think that's where Star Wars got in a lot of trouble in that last trilogy, was too much course correcting, too much, taking fan feedback of the previous film and trying to fix it. Ironically enough, the person that didn't do it was Rian Johnson.
Yeah, yep.
And he paid for it.
Yeah, maybe one day on here, I think, if we want to get fun and controversial, we're going to have to eventually talk about, why can't I remember? Episode 8.
The Last Jedi?
The Last Jedi. We're going to have to talk about this at some point, because, that movie is probably one of the single most hated fandom movies that's ever been released. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a big reason why a lot of people don't love that movie. Mm-hmm. And it's very unfortunate, but, that's all, there's big stipulations for that movie that never came to fruition. Mm-hmm. Obviously he thought he was going to do the next movie at the time, and then they knocked on J.J. Abrams' door. They said, hey, big head, what you doing? You still up?
Goes back to the course correction thing. Mm-hmm. And then we got Rise of Skywalker, which was just a mess of just these moments that didn't really add up.
Yeah. And I was thinking about that movie the other day. The hate for that movie isn't, I think the hate's on the wrong thing in that movie.
Which one?
For the Rise of Skywalker. Mm-hmm. I feel like the hate's on, because I think people, obviously, there's people that just hate the trilogy because Rey's a character. There's people that, hate this trilogy for this, that, the other. I don't think that's the problem. Like you said, I just think the Rise of Skywalker is, story-wise, just a mess. It's just
disjointed,
yeah. And it's just trying, and it just, because you're capping off one of the greatest sagas in cinema. I'm just talking, the length of it, and how scope and how impactful to society this franchise was. If that's the ending, that's not your ending. It sucks that that's the ending of that.
Yeah.
That's a studio fault. I'm sorry, that's a studio fault. It just is.
Yeah, and they've really, aside from flashes here and there when it comes to The Mandalorian, when it comes to Andor, when it comes to Ahsoka, sort of, Star Wars still hasn't really recovered from that sequel trilogy.
And that's the crutch. That's the crutch that's the crutch you were talking about too. And, I was watching, I don't know why, but I just got this itch to think about Jedi Survivor. So I started kicking around in the game, and I was just thinking about that story. Why that story works so well? Obviously it's ingratiated and encompassing of something, but that story just runs with a character that we hadn't met before previously. This is his own path and his own journey with, relatable stakes and relatable, consequences personally and externally. That's why that game, and again, not to sound nerdy, but you get to be a Jedi. Like, you just get to be a Jedi and do the thing. Like, I feel like Star Wars is so afraid to let the thing be the thing that makes the universe fun. And, you know, hopefully the Acolyte can touch it. I don't think that's going to be the main focus, but whatever movie we get, you know, we're getting 3 it's the James Mangold, you know, old movie. They're going to do the Inception of the Jedi. We're getting the Daisy Ridley led movie, and then I forget what the third movie was, but I think there should be a desperate plea, and maybe this is what the Daisy Ridley movie is going to be. Let's start fresh. Let's just start fresh. Get somebody that cares about the franchise, but, you know, wants to make something new, and, you know, let's just, you know, maybe get back to the George Lucas way in the 70s and 80s. Like, think cinema first before you think franchise. Maybe that's a good healing point. And it's a point we talked about, like, you know, we talked about it with the Fantastic Four. Like, maybe these studios need to start thinking cinema over franchise and start to make, like, you know, quote unquote, the pictures again. Like, maybe that should be the first thing you think about, is like, how do I make the most, like, cinematic movie that I can, that's like the experience. And, you know, because, you know, Top Gun Maverick, Dune, like, it feels like we're at like a bit of a turning point. And those movies seem to be the movies that are starting to win, the ones that are worried about, you know, the cinema itself. So,
and funny enough, like, it may not seem like it because of the source material and you know what it is, but Deadpool 3 might be that.
Sure.
You know,
I see your point,
because it just feels, you know, maybe not so much like the cinematic piece of it, but like, at least I feel like that movie is going to have a definitive identity.
Sure.
And I think it's going to feel unique to every other thing that they've done. And I think that's a great start. And like I said, like, I keep refraining the part that it's the only movie Marvel's putting out this year. And I think, and, you know, Sean Levy's getting apparently a lot of, you know, maybe not a lot of calls from Kevin Feige, but Kevin Feige is apparently planning things for Sean Levy because of how impressed he was with Deadpool 3. So, I mean, we'll see where that goes. But I think Deadpool 3 could potentially be that for Marvel.
Sure.
And, you know, in a couple minutes, we're going to talk about another thing that kind of, even though it's animated, kind of maybe elevated the Marvel stock a little bit. So we're going to talk about that in a couple minutes. But speaking of, you know, like, live action things in development, so the Hollywood Reporter has said that DC is planning a live action Teen Titans movie, which, you know, excites someone like me who absolutely loves the Teen Titans. And yeah, I mean, that's a good idea in concept.
Sure. I guess we have to ask the question, and this, you know, as much as we've been kind of, you know, singing the praises of the preliminaries of the DCU, the question must keep getting asked: is this like, does this fit? Like, where does this fit? Because
who is it?
Who is it? Like, is this in universe, outside of universe? Like, there's a lot of questions to be asked, and this is my, you know, you said it and you told me not to get my hopes up months ago about, you know, this like, be tempered with where you're going. It's like the bar that Magneto has in the second episode of X-Men 97, talking to Scott. You know, where do you put this in the DCU? Because there's this very almost like hard stop point about Superman that this is him. This is like not his first public appearance, because he's already been established, but like, this is the, like, I am the Superman of everybody and I'm still young, like, Cub Reporter Superman. Like, so is this Teen Titans movie gonna be in this universe? Because I feel like a lot of things have to go right for this to be here. It could still be in universe, because if Robin's Nightwing, then you can go, you know. Starfire, you're fine wherever you get her for. Cyborg, you're fine wherever you get him from. Beast Boy, same thing. Raven. So, weirdly enough, this is really going to be the tell if it's going to be Nightwing or if it's going to be Robin. I guess that's an interesting point.
That also dictates your tone of your movie.
Sure. Yes, it does.
Because if you're going to do Nightwing, it's got to be a more kind of adult Titans team.
Yeah, right. It needs to be not the show. I'm talking about like the newer age comics, like the Titans. Like that's like you're talking like Wally West after he became just the Flash, not Kid Flash. Like that's where you're gonna have to pull from.
Or you do more, which is kind of what I would shoot for, is more of like a young adult kind of centered piece where they're all kind of in their teens to 20s.
Sure. You know what I was thinking about too, and Blue Beetle can back this point up, because I know Blue Beetle's in the DCU apparently.
Sure.
Which I know, wasn't there like points of, well, so the DCU Batman had already been established, because we're picking up with Damian Wayne at this point, wherever it gets, and I actually get to our next point of news after that too. But do you probably just do Nightwing, like he'd already been established. Maybe you just do pick up. You sometimes I have to eat my words when I'm around you, because you did say don't, the DC, like Warner Brothers is still gonna Warner Brother. So this is so weird. I should be overly excited about this. I grew up on that Teen Titans show as much as, a lot of us did. Like, that show is ingratiated into my memory. I love that show so much. The Titans as characters are all great. I'm just a bit fearful that we're doing it again. We're doing the thing again. You don't need to do this. You did it already. You told us what Gods and Monsters Phase 1. That's it. Leave it. Leave it until Superman's a certified hit. Then you can start, getting jumpy and excited a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's always, it's always a studio thing. It's always the big brother is watching, like, strike while, and Warner Brothers has a track record of doing this. It would not surprise me if Warner Brothers looked at what Marvel was doing and being like, they're doing Young Avengers
soon. Yep.
Why don't we do a thing, with a crop of young superheroes?
Oh wait, we have the Teen Titans, and they were like, green light at James, like, can I make my Swamp Thing first? Or...
Can I make my weird thing first? No, Teen Titans now.
Teen Titans now. Shut up.
And I mean, the only other, Titans related stuff, we got the Teen Titans versus Justice League animated series, or animated movie. We obviously got the Titans show, which was a little underrated, I think.
Well, the later seasons, that show plays kind of like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. does it better, but as the show grows into itself, it becomes more self-aware of what it is and how it doesn't need to fit anywhere, and then you can start breathing and start creating what you want to create. Titans, once you get later in that, minus the Batman and the Titans, but besides that...
Also kind of leaned less on the, like, look how gritty and mature our thing is.
And then they absorbed what it was. It's stupid, crazy comic books, and they started to really get after, especially at the end of season 2 into season 3, they really, like, they ended up doing, what did they do? They did, Brother Blood. Like, they started to dip into some crazy stuff.
They did Red Hood.
Yep. So, do your comic stuff. Like, don't be afraid of that. Like, you don't have to be afraid of those things. Like how the MCU thrived from, I always say that, like, 2014 to 2019, it was like the golden age. Like, Doctor Strange was doing crazy weird stuff. Like, they weren't making Doctor Strange a gritty, surgical drama. Like, no. You're going to cross the multiverse and do crazy stuff. Like, don't be afraid.
Right. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Obviously, this is just an announcement. It's not even probably in, like, conceptualization stage. It's more just like, this is happening. I
guess, the next piece, I'm going to say a name and you're going to tell me if they should play Batman. And that would be Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, sure. I guess there's plenty of room for Batman in this DC universe. So why not just have another one?
Sure. I do think he's, like, good age. What is he, 42? Something like that. Yeah, he's
surprisingly young for how long he's been around.
I thought about that the other day. I was like, Jake Gyllenhaal's not as old as I thought he was. Like, I thought he was much older than he is. Obviously, he's got...
he's 43.
Yeah, he's 43. Obviously, he's got Roadhouse coming out. He looks in impeccable shape right now, which is awesome. He's been around this... Not only has he been around the superhero genre, he's been around the most popular... Like, one of the most popular superheroes in the genre. He's not afraid to get, weird or crazy or anything. You want to get nuts? Like, he's not afraid, which I really like about him too. And just at the end of the day, that's a phenomenal actor too. That's an award-nominated actor, so that's somebody that you can bring into this universe, not be nervous about.
I think he would be a phenomenal Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, that's my thing too. I think he would understand, like, I'm talking this Bruce Wayne that's still the playboy, but still he's so... You know who he would play like a little bit? He would play like Jim Lee's Batman, I think, a little bit. Like that Hush era of Batman, I feel like he's kind of around there. I always say that Pattinson's is a little mix between, like, the Greg Capullo version, like that Batman, and a little bit of that, older noir, your 80s Batman. Like, that's where Pattinson lives. Obviously, you get into, your Justice League Batman, like your Greg, why can't I remember my man that, wrote for DC for the longest time. Jeff Johns. Your Jeff Johns Batman is Batfleck. That's probably the closest one you have. I feel like Jake Gyllenhaal would be a great choice. He's got the look. He's got the physique. I think he can go head to head with David Cornsweet too. I feel like they would have like a pretty solid dichotomy as like the the respectable frenemies. I think that would play really well. And I think you know how he can play well. It's with the kid. I think it's with having Damian Wayne. I feel like they can have a great rapport. Like I don't know why I envision him getting the kid and be like, woof.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's a great choice. I think when you're a studio and any prominent actor kind of in unpromptedly throws their name into the ring, I think you got to pay attention.
It's been a couple over the last couple of months. It's been like multiple actors have been like, I'll play Batman if it's up. Like this is a role that's like can get you some more roles. This is a role that's just popular, and it's like it's got to be kind of cool to be Batman. Like that's got to be kind of a cool.
Yeah, Ben Affleck thought. Yeah, so too.
Yeah, maybe not for Ben Affleck, but for everybody else, like that's got to be pretty decently cool. So
yeah, so I think you definitely got to pay attention when if he's putting that out there.
Yeah,
so.
I'm throwing my hat in the ring for him specifically. I'm really throwing my hat in the ring. I think Alan Ritchson's he's too brolic for Batman. Maybe he can. I don't know who he can play. Find him a role.
He'll find a role.
Get him a role.
That guy is
Sabretooth. Spoiler alert for the rest of what we're going to talk about.
Oh,
make Taron Egerton Wolverine, and then make him Sabretooth.
That's a good one.
You know who he also could play? He also could play Omega Red, but that's deep cut. Is it deep cut? I don't know.
It's a pretty deep cut. So yeah, before we talk about X-Men, we did get we got a proper trailer for Furiosa.
Yeah. I'm Furiosa.
Anya Taylor-Joy, Chris Hemsworth.
She's cooking this year.
She's definitely cooking in this movie because that was a fun was a fun trailer.
Yep. It was
properly Mad Max.
There it is. And that was the thing. I think the first trailer was solid. It's good. Seeing it on the big screen as a preview is still solid, but this is like the Cell trailer. Like this is the one where like get the butts in the seats. Get the butts in the seats. George Miller's back.
Let Chris Hemsworth be Australian.
Right. This one feels much more of like this ominous scope that Mad Max has. Like this feels much more like that. I think. I think it does really well. I mean, that first movie is just
Fury Road
is just like it was a revelation of a movie to come out. It just was surprisingly way more subtle than anybody ever thought it would be.
Yeah.
But also not being subtle one bit. It's just it's a perfect marriage. So
yeah, and I mean that's obviously the ghost that Anya Taylor-Joy specifically is going to have to chase because Charlize Theron won an Oscar for it. Right. So, I think she's more than up to the task for sure. It looks like Hemsworth's having a blast.
Just a ball, which, sometimes you want. We talk about, sometimes you do like those, like, scene chewers. And, like, we talk about Rami Malek sometimes in No Time to Die. It's like, sometimes that does work. Sometimes
what about Ewan McGregor in Birds of Prey?
Right. Even to go a little farther for something that was more recent, but, like, even, Kingsley Benadir and Secret Invasion, like, if you're going to do it, just go full send for it. Like, forget subtlety, forget all those things. Just be the big bad guy. Like,
yeah, Mad Max is a perfect war backdrop for that sort of performance. So, I'm looking forward to that. It looks really good. But yeah, let's talk about some X-Men.
Yeah. So, we got the announcement, what was it, 2 years ago that we were getting X-Men 97, and everybody's like, huh?
Mm-hmm.
X-Men 97? Mm-hmm. We're bringing this back? Mm-hmm. And fear strikes, in my opinion. It's the fear of what could go wrong. I think, a lot of people were like, cool, but then there's a lot of people like, why touch something so precious? Like, that show is precious to so many. I mean, that show's obviously a little outside of my era. I did watch it, obviously, but it was something that was outside of my era, so I was already on the outside looking in. That show was like a weird bridge gap because obviously this show is coming out Fox and Friends in the 90s. I mean, you had Power Rangers, you had X-Men. Like, that's a big deal. Like, this is a big property. A prominent kids show with some really recognizable characters. So to touch it again would be, some may think even blasphemous to do. Just to jump right in, the feeling I got from watching these two episodes.
Oh my God.
It was something that I told you when I was done. It's really incredible, and you feel it for some projects. Like, when there's something, it's a source material from something, and you watch the thing, and you're like, I need to read this. Like, I need to get more of this immediately.
The original show does that a lot.
Yes,
One of the things, I think, it was couple weeks ago, I mentioned on here that I was rewatching the old, and man, they just flippantly, flippantly bounce between all these notable X-Men comic book arcs. Yep. Just like whatever. Here's Apocalypse.
I mean, they do Apocalypse. They do Mr. Sinister. They mix those two. They do
Days of Future Past.
They do the Shi'ar Empire. Like they're just ripping off Phoenix Force. They're ripping off some of the. I mean, the you talk about the Sentinels. You do the Cure. Like they were ripping off these major storylines that make up the X-Men from the 60s to the modern age. I mean, the biggest thing that they just haven't got into, which I want to ask you a question when we're done, when we're at the very end, is obviously they didn't just dip into the Jonathan Hickman, the new stuff, the new X-Men stuff, which is now super popular, but this show is just absolutely, I mean, it's, you know, I hate that
from the jump.
It's perfect. Like this show is just, it's not just the X-Men 97 or X-Men original animated series, just as a superhero thing. This thing is just, it's emotional. So, and the 90s show understood that very, very much so. Like, you know, I love the people that are going to be mad at this and that were probably mad at the X-Men show and probably mad at the X-Men comics. Like, you know, I feel like the first example that they got, and it made the news. We saw that clip from a couple. I don't know why that clip popped up. I think it was because of this. The clip popped up on on Twitter. Where it was, you know, it was the reception to God Loves Man Kills. You know, from Chris Claremont, and you know, what do you think Days of Future Past is invoking? You think this is just something they incepted out of their minds? There's something very big in human history that they're invoking out of that. You think God Loves Man Kills? There's like, yeah. These are the only people that have ever been oppressed. No, this is pulling from something. And X-Men 97 hits it hard, talking about these, you know, these real world things that are happening and that have happened and will continue to happen. And it's just does not shy away from it. But also as a superhero property, you know, one thing you have to do is you have to get, you know, unfortunately, you do have to get the action right out of the gate. You got to set the tone of, is this show going to, because you know what this is at the end of the day. It's a superhero thing. So you're going to get the superheroing. Boy, does it do the superheroing. And who does it benefit the most, Rob?
It benefits Cyclops. Cyclops gets, I think, the biggest kind of like punch through the wall of like, here he is, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. And it's something that we had not seen. We haven't seen this in live action from Cyclops, which is surprising because, you know, and we can talk about our experiences growing up with the live action X-Men movies because we really did live through like the bulk of the X-Men as we know it. And, you know, the big piece is that Wolverine was the guy. Wolverine wasn't a part of the original X-Men. Wolverine didn't get there until 12 years after. Wolverine, Storm, Banshee, Colossus, all these, they didn't show up until 75, until Chris Claremont took over. So, you know, just seeing the justice that Cyclops is getting, like, Cyclops is the field leader of the X-Men. It's Cyclops, Jean Grey, Beast. Like, these are the X-Men. And, you know, it's just so satisfying to see Cyclops get his due. And, you know, I told you, like, the Astonishing X-Men run from Joss Whedon, like, this is what it kind of does for Cyclops, too. It makes Cyclops, like, I'm not some stupid Boy Scout that's running around, even though, like, I'm capable. I'm not only am I capable as a field leader, I'm physically capable as Cyclops, and oh boy.
Yeah, it's a brilliant, quick action sequence. First of all, I just love the first episode because it's obviously a mirror to the series premiere, you know, way back when, you know, it's, you know, a young mutant gets kind of accosted in the original
you
series.
Said what?
Accosted.
What's his name?
Roberto DaCosta.
Look what you did.
The original,
you're Sunspot from Marvel Comics.
Yeah, in the original series, it's Jubilee. That in this situation, they play into that.
Well, I mean, it's a nice mirror, and again, you know what
they brought the Sentinels back for this first episode.
You know what this episode does so well? Everybody's arc is very, very definitive. I know, but I also don't know where it's going because the end of both episodes leave on cliffhangers too, especially the second one. But it's not everybody's physical arc; it's all their emotional arcs are all credible. Like I feel every single one of them makes sense. Maybe the least to do is Bishop, I think, but he's not. I don't think that's the end of the world. Like Bishop and Morph. But Morph got so much to do in the original show. Like, Morph had a whole...
Morph died.
Morph died, came back evil, and then became good again because of a pep talk. Shout out The Flash. But, you know, Cyclops in the show is just, you know, what's he struggling with? He's struggling with the fact that, you know, Professor X is dead, so, his father figure just died. Now he has to lead the X-Men, and, it's all about it's worthiness for him. Am I worthy? I'm here to lead this team. Are they going to follow? Like, that's the thing that I have to, like, can I lead this team? And should I lead this team? Jean's pregnant now. That creates a very big shift in dynamic amongst the X-Men. Their arc's all about leaving. Like, they might leave the X-Men now, to start a life. Rogue, shout out comics. Rogue gets a very interesting piece beyond, because you think she's capped off at being just, she took Carol Danvers' powers. It's much more than that. The show is, funny enough to say the show is so human. Like, and the X-Men comics, when they're at their best, when Chris Claremont's at his best, when, Jim Lee was doing all right in the 90s, like, when the X-Men are, Hickman, came out of the gate swinging with his new arc in 2019, when the X-Men are the best, it's when they're the most, human or, homo superior. Like, that's when the X-Men are at their best as characters. When they were, it's funny when, the whole woke thing, like, when they're worried about that, that's when the X-Men are always at their best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, what the show also does a great job of, I think, is it doesn't do what a lot of these, like, resurgent franchises do, and it's like, remember this thing? Remember this thing? Yep. Like, it's very self-contained to the point where, like, they do a good enough job of kind of throwing in things here and there that you don't have to do that thing where you have to go back and watch. It's a great companion piece, but it's not like required viewing. They do a great job of being like, oh, Bishop's here. And I think Rogue mentions it quick. She's like, oh, Bishop's a time traveler. Okay. Done. It's like, that's all you need to know. They do a great job of saying Professor X was assassinated. Yep. Here's the person who killed him.
And we're going to interrogate him to go further in the story.
Yeah. So they do a great job of kind of just establishing all these character dynamics right off the bat without, A, overstaying its welcome, or B, being inaccessible to new viewers. Yeah. Because, truth be told, there are going to be a lot of new viewers to this, especially after the reception that it's got. Like, I think people are going to be like, I should probably check out this X-Men show.
And using Roberto DaCosta as well, like, now you're the new mutant in this world that's, it's like a surrogate too, because it's almost like, I'm a bit apprehensive as, like, in universe, how the humans are apprehensive to them, as Magneto's apprehensive to the humans, as, like, some new viewers might be to the show. Like, I'm the person that's going to get you into the world. And, like, from my point of view in the first episode, you're going to see around everything. You're going to kind of peek, and gander and, get, involved in this story too. And then it's funny, he makes the decision at the end, come find me, I might stick around for a little bit too. And, like, that's the viewers, like, that's exactly what happened. Like, you know what, I will stick around for this.
Yeah. The cast.
Yeah, money. They're
just a tremendous, so there are a bunch of returning actors. So Alison Seeley Smith returns as Storm. Lenore Zen returns as Rogue. George Boozer returns as Beast, which I don't know why it's the Beast voice. A lot of people were, like, super attached to the Wolverine voice actor. Yeah. Cal Dodd does return to play Wolverine, but for me, like, as a kid, I don't know why Beast voice actor always stuck out to me. I think it's because, like, he has that, like, proper, like, gravitas that Hank McCoy should have, and, like, I was so glad that he comes back. But the standout for me was a new addition to the cast, which is Ray Chase as Cyclops. Man.
Just immediately just asserts why he's so important to this whole thing. And, like, not just, like, in universe, but the actor himself, like, why he's so important to this.
He
like,
brings just that command of the room.
This is the blueprint. Like, this is live action, this is what you should strive for. Like, this Cyclops is the one. Like, we finally figured out after 19 years of X-Men movies, we finally figured out Cyclops.
Yeah, they just throw it all, like, that first action scene with him, man, when he comes in.
Using the optic black, because that, conceptually that power is very crutched and very one-dimensional, and then they add 3 dimensions to a one-dimensional on-paper power.
What they were able to do with that, like, him using the optic blast for mobility.
It's even more than that too, because you know why it's so impressive? Because it's also Scott's arc from the show to here. It's like, now he's like, you can feel a confidence from not the arrogant confidence. You can finally feel in himself, like, I am worthy to lead the X-Men. Like, I'm worthy of my power, which I was probably one of the most frightened to get, because now I'm seeing red all the time and I can't open my eyes. Like, for me, like the going from human to mutant, like was probably for him one of the worst you could have asked for. So him just being so confident, he's having a son, like he's married to the love of, like everything's going Cyclops' way. And what do we do in storytelling? We rip all those things from us because that's good storytelling, unfortunately.
Yeah, which is kind of what the first episode culminates in. So like the X-Men have saved the day. They've stopped the Sentinels.
Just such a good establisher.
Yeah.
And then episode 2 is where we really...
Well, the hook, yeah, I mean, the hook at the end of episode 1 is like the inner X-Men struggle of episode 1 is Cyclops and Jean are preparing to tell the team that they're going to leave.
Didn't we do this in Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer?
Jean is suspiciously pushy for these first 2 episodes of being like, we gotta get out of here, we gotta be done, like, we gotta raise our child. Cyclops finally acquiesces until they're all hanging out at the basketball court, and then Beast gets an alert that someone's in Professor X's office. So they all march up in there in their gym clothes, and who is there with a luscious head of hair?
And just an absolute Planet Fitness gym membership.
Magneto's there. Eric Lynch is there.
My X-Men.
With the last, holding in his hand the very, very wordy last will and testament of Charles Xavier. Several pages. And he says, "Hello, I'm your boss now."
Yeah.
Xavier left everything to me, and...
How dare you stood where he stood? How dare you?
And Matthew Watterson comes in as Magneto in episode 2 and is just brilliant. Also, I mean, I don't want to... The other sequence I didn't want to gloss over from episode 1 was the storm sequence.
Oh my goodness. Well, just the whole back half Sentinel fight is just money.
Hits the right spots.
It's just when the theme starts playing.
Yeah.
And, all the X-Men are prominent, like, Gambit's riding on Wolverine's back, charges him up with his power. Wolverine jumps at the Sentinel. Rogue's using her Miss Marvel powers. Like
Beast takes control of a Sentinel from the inside.
He uses his strength and he uses his smarts. Like Morph's using multiple. Morph just pops into different.
I love that.
Different mutants from around the universe.
Morph is the fan service character.
Yeah, and in episode 2, it's quick. It doesn't overstay its welcome for any of them. But
it tricked you at one point in the second episode.
We'll wait a second, but that whole sequence, you're the master mold from Marvel Comics. Like, you're Balafar Trash from Marvel Comics. Like, this, it's so good.
It does what the original series did, man. Like, we're not going to handhold you. Like,
sure, yep.
We're going to throw all these things in there.
Yep, and
we're just going to roll.
Even farther than that, too, it's the fact that, like, the Sentinels were so prominent and so dangerous to them, and then it's the fact that they take on 5 Sentinels, including a master mold, and they just dispatch of them. And it's like... It just immediate shows you the physical might of the X-Men.
Yeah, I was going to say that going back to the Cyclops point. Like, this is not just a mutant. Like, this is a mutant who has spent years honing his powers, his power set, and he is a master of what he does with those powers.
And they all are. They all are at this point. Even Jubilee, like, all of them are credible. Like, this... Like, this is the X-Men. Really, this is the X-Men.
And then, so the X-Men are surrounded, and Cyclops hits his little button, and he goes, "Give him the forecast." Then I've never seen fear in the eyes of a robot before.
Yeah, that was insane.
Omega level threat detected.
And then the piano theme starts playing, and I'm like, what's Storm about to do? Lord.
The lightning crashes down, forms of sheets of glass all over the desert, because she's in the desert.
So Trask is hiding in the Sahara.
Yeah. And here comes Storm. Here comes Aurora Monroe. Just... It's unbelievable.
Have you ever read the Giant Size X-Men, the Claremont run? Mm-mm. So when it opens up, Storm probably has the best introduction out of all of them because, I think, I can't remember what the verbiage is exactly, and it is very verbose, but, one of the things, it's like this goddess ascends from the sky with the thunder and lightning cracking in the back, like, exactly what they did in this. Like, it's such, like, for me from reading that, like, I don't know why I felt that same feeling I felt from, like,
sure,
her first panel in Giant Size X-Men in 75, like, it was the same feeling, but just realized, like, this is Storm, this is Wolverine, this is Gambit, this is Rogue, like, this is what this X-Men 97 show did so well in the first episode.
Omega level threat detector. That was so sick. And she goes into her Storm monologuing.
Yep. She's the only one that's allowed to monologue.
Absolutely. She, whatever she says, heed my command, send these, whatever she says. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. She summons a giant tornado and just destroys these Sentinels. And you're just like, holy moly. Like, again, it goes back to the point about just these characters that have such a firm grip on what they're capable of. Like, that's the thing. Like, I love that we're in this universe where these characters just have that's always the superhero struggle, right? It is like not knowing what they're capable of, not knowing their full potential. Like, this is a group of characters that knows what their full potential are.
Yep. And I'm going to transition us right into episode 2 and what makes storytelling great, like I alluded to before. So they're physically fine. Let's destroy them emotionally. And that's how you build. That's how you do it. And we get to episode 2. With Magneto, everybody's emotional arc starts, and they're all brilliant. They're all brilliant. So this centers around the trial of Magneto. Obviously Magneto had committed some war crimes, if you didn't remember. He tried to murder humanity multiple times, including the last rebellion against humanity after the assassination of Charles Xavier. And, one thing this accentuates really well is their relationship, man. It's such a thing where, you don't have to see him. Charles doesn't have to be alive, which obviously Charles is probably going to come back for the show. However, you don't have to see it, but you feel their relationship so much through all these other characters. Seeing, like, some of them are fine with it because he said, he raised you, like, this was my best friend that I loved. Like, I loved this man. Like, this was my best friend in the entire world.
He was in my thoughts, and I was in his.
His thoughts, yep.
I love that conversation, the first conversation that he has with Rogue when, he says, I made this helmet as a means to prevent, him from intruding, but, and Rogue makes the point, like, maybe you just built it because you were afraid of what would happen if he did get in your head again. Like, you're afraid that you would, like, care again. And the Magneto Rogue stuff is super interesting to me. And we'll talk about that when we get to the end of the episode.
Very interesting. And you know what this episode does well? This episode, if I were to summarize it, it's byproducts. It's the byproducts of everything that's going on. I mean, you talk about the Magneto stuff. What's the byproduct? It's Scott's infuriating, showing itself. It's, it's immediate question. It's the big world in universe, big world implication. So now we're going to let this man who attempted to murder us try to lead the X-Men. This is going to propagate more hate for them as well, too. It's the X-Men looking at themselves in a mirror, too, and saying, we're going to fight for ourselves for the end of the day, but, it is tough waking up to be us the whole time. And then it's the human aspect on top of that, too, which is super interesting. I mean, we get the Executioner in this as well, too. Part of the FOH, not that FOH, the Friends of Humanity. You're Friends of Humanity from Marvel Comics. But, we get the Warlock, what is it? The
Morlocks?
The Morlocks in here. You're Leech from Marvel Comics. He's him. But like I said, it's all about the byproducts of what happens for everything. There's a consequence for every action, and using the screenwriting Chekhov's gun, like this episode does it very well. Specifically with Storm, it does it exceptionally well.
And is a great kind of as awesome and as satisfying as that set piece in episode 1 is.
There's a reason.
It's a direct setup for what happens to Storm in this episode, in which the Executioner shows up at the trial. With
he's
the
got
intention,
a gun.
Yeah, he's got a magic gun. Not a magic gun. It's a science gun.
But science is magic.
But we don't know what it does, to be fair. We think he's going there with the intent of assassinating Magneto, because he's called the Executioner.
It's so... What did George Lucas say? Just like poetry, they rhyme. Like, I just... talking about this right now, it's even deeper than the face front. Oh my god. So, just to jump forward, so this gun takes away the power of a mutant. It's the inhibitor collars that go on. It's a permanent inhibitor collar that's cellular based. So now the X gene is now suppressed inside of you. And, again, showing full arc of these characters and, where Storm's at in her life and her arc in this show. She takes this bullet for Magneto, which she never would have done before, but just shows you how far Magneto has come to himself, like how far he's come. And, you know, it's almost like murder would have been a better option for her because of how, you know, it's the thing I talked about with Scott. You know, Scott got these powers and immediately, like, it's not like, you know, Jean can hide. Like, some of them can, like, Scott couldn't hide. Morph can hide, but at what cost? Beast can't hide. You know, Storm could hide plausibly, but she had made this such a part of herself, which she should. It's her. It's her. It's just her at the end of the day. So,
and she wields such power. I mean, Magneto
like,
says it to her.
Just like you said, like Omega level threat detected. Like,
and Magneto says it to her, like, you are the closest thing that our kind has to a goddess because of what you can do.
Right.
She has that conversation with Jean before all this unfolds.
What an incredible conversation that is, too.
Where she's like, you know, I understand why you want to walk away, but I'm this is who I am.
Yeah,
like, my powers are my identity because I've grown to love them and you know, appreciate what they've brought to me, which is this family and like, you know, just the tragedy of what she does when she takes that shot for Magneto and she's lying on the ground and she says, like, I can't feel the wind, like I can't feel the elements, like they're gone. Like,
and then they do something so, you know, heartbreaking later when, you know, they do almost like that jump scare crack of lightning and you think the power is going to come and it doesn't. It's just the windows open and this is her departure from the X-Men.
But her losing her powers paves way for just an absolutely masterclass of a scene featuring Magneto.
Oh my goodness.
Where he...
Oh my goodness.
You know, he's obviously uncollared. He sees Storm take this shot for her and he's had it.
Yep. And he's going to revert. He's immediately going to revert back to Magneto.
He preps the Executioner up on like basically on the UN symbol. It's very... Magneto's
symbolic,
very... Magneto's he's very flashy.
Yeah.
He likes a stage, so he grabs
statement.
Grabs him, grabs the UN council, the judges, lifts them up to the sky, and he's like, I could smite you with a single step. And it would be so easy to do that. But a good friend told me to admire this view of the Earth and realize, you know, he basically says like how small we make the world in light of how vast it is. And he's like, as I want to do better. And it harkens back to his conversation that he had with Rogue when Rogue tells him, like, I didn't demand their trust, I earned it. And I just love that when he gets up there with all of them and the tear rolls down his eye, his cheek, you know? And he's struggling. You can tell he's struggling, like genuine struggle of he wants to, everything in him is telling him to just decimate all of these humans because of what they've done, you know, to Storm, because before he takes them up there, he says, like, you know, the X-Men are the best of us.
Yeah, imagine protecting beings that want you gone, dead, destroyed, incinerated, executed, and they still go out of their way on a planetary level to protect you day in, day out.
And now look what you've done to her. Like, you've made her...
Yeah, like I said, that was why I really wanted to make that point. Like, death would have been a better sentence than having her lose and stripped forcefully of our entire identity because of hate.
Yeah.
Imagine we're talking about a quote-unquote kid show like this.
It's crazy, right? It's just a testament to how good it is.
And it's the scene juxtaposed with life, you know, and you know, it's not just life coming from Nathaniel Summers. It's the life and the death. It's the death and rebirth, you know. One mutant go, one mutant come. It's just like poetry, it rhymes.
Logan, he's here.
Who Apocalypse? The show it is funny.
It still maintains that 90s camp humor that is just really well written and well delivered. Logan driving her around town to the hospital. Scott gets there and you find out the doctor won't deliver a mutant baby.
Yep. It's just the subtlety. Like I said, like this is
how much it mirrors reality.
Yeah.
X-Men has always been such a perfect allegory
since the inception. That was the entire point.
Yeah. And this, you know, doesn't shy away from it, which I really appreciated, that they didn't lose that element. You know, I think the whole opening sequence of episode 1 with Sunspot is, you know, perfectly handled in that regard. Like, the guys, Sunspot says, "I'm one of the good ones." Yeah, which is a piece of dialogue that reverberates through society, like our society, like. people know what the connotation of one of the good ones is, quote unquote. Like, you know what that kind of insinuates, and the fact that they threw that in there is not accidental.
Right. There's and even to go further, there's no accidentals in this show.
No.
There's no things that were thrown in there to sound cool or this means something.
Yeah.
X-Men comics, for the most part, it's always meant something.
So yeah, the doctor refuses to deliver Jean's baby, so Rogue comes in there, steals the medical knowledge. She's rightfully terrified of doing that because A, she's doing this, and
it
B,
shows the family aspect, because they said, we trust you, bro. And again, just like poetry, it rhymes. Just how she said, I didn't do things to, I earned their trust. Like, at the point you were a villain to them before, and they're now willing to let you, with your power set, deliver this baby. Like, you just show how close they are to each other.
And then while Magneto's monologuing, we super cut between Jean having the baby. We see Magneto and Rogue together. Having a moment that breaks Gambit's poor heart.
Sure.
He's holding the Queen of Hearts card as he sees Rogue departing Magneto's chambers, and tough 2 episodes for my man Gambit.
He's getting cooked on the basketball court, I assume. He probably didn't have a left or anything. He's just...
And then we get to, what all great serial TV shows do. Gotta end it on a cliffhanger, right?
Well, we didn't even talk about Storm's departure as like a whole. Like the entire scene just, it really...
because Jean says to her, she talks to Hank, and Hank says essentially like, your power loss is permanent, which breaks Storm's heart. Jean hugs her and says, me and Scott are not gonna leave until we fix this, until we cure you.
And Aurora says, well, I'm leaving, because like I told you earlier, like, I would not have found this team without my power, and now my power is gone, so I must go on a different path now. This is not my path anymore. So I don't know if you can do the acting like this and something like this. I don't know if the acting can be had this well.
Tremendous.
Like
I mean, Alison Sealy-Smith has such command of Storm at this point. Like, she's been doing the character
suit with essentially with the bullet, like it's the strike, but it's like the bullet hole that, like, it's just wow.
She has such command of the character after doing the character for 30 years across multiple media.
It's just such a juxtaposition from the end of the first, because the end of the first episode's so hopeful, like, hey, these are the X-Men, we're gonna have the serial weekly trials of the X-Men.
Can they trust Magneto?
It's so much deeper than that. It's just infinitely deeper than that. And it's just it's the little things too. It's the morph, knowing that it's that little bit where Wolverine's looking outside, he's looking outside after Jean gives birth, and Jean looks up and he's gone again, and his heart is broken. The woman that you love, after how long of a life you've had, she's living her life out without you, and you can't do anything about it. I don't care how long you live, you can't do anything about it. It's the piece of Rogue and Magneto, like, we find out that Magneto can touch Rogue because of his powers. He can actually, and it's something so, like I said, so human, or the Homo superior for the mutants. Like, it's just longing for touch. Like, something so simple that he can provide her now that Gambit can't, unfortunately. It's just we're getting this out of an X-Men animated show on Disney Plus. Like,
yeah, they do such a good job with all. I mean, to your point about Morph, like, he goes outside and hangs out with Wolverine, turns into Sabretooth so that him and Wolverine can kind of roughhouse a little bit, get Wolverine's mind off of everything, and then, Jean, the letter from Storm starts in Aurora's voice, and it ends with Jean reading it, and all the X-Men are properly upset, and then Morph says, she'll be back, like, this isn't going to keep Storm down, she'll hang out with the common folk for a bit, and comes back, and then there's a ding.
And then they do the WandaVision episode 5.
Yeah.
There's a ding at the door.
Yep. And Morph is like, see, look, she's already back. They open the door, and
you're Jean Grey from Marvel Comics.
I need to see.
But Jean Grey from Marvel Comics is already in the room.
I need to find the X-Men.
But Jean?
Oh boy.
Was James Marsden's whole shtick just yelling Jean for all the X-Men movies, the live action ones?
Well,
that brings me into our next topic for today. Are you done talking? Are we talking? It's great. It's great.
It's great.
Amazing. It's awesome.
We're getting 10 of these.
I was buzzing after these 2 episodes.
So we're getting 8 more of these across the next 8 weeks, and I can't wait.
I can't wait.
I think this show is weekly viewing.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yep.
Which sounds insane to say about an animated show, but I think they've successfully captured the Saturday morning cartoon feel of like, I have to see the next episode now. I'm super impressed.
Right.
I was super excited for this. I mean, the buzz of when the opening credits hit, I mean, it's one of the greatest theme songs in the history of music.
Shout out John Wasserman. Or Ron Wasserman, but you gotta know that Feige's hyped, for lack of a better... You gotta think that the mutant button, and if Deadpool 3 hits the way it is, if Deadpool 3 makes 800 plus, excuse me.
Nice. Bless you.
If it makes 800 plus, you gotta think that Feige's like, we need to get this mutant thing rolling in fast. Like, get the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, like the immediacy of
This could be the Renaissance. This could be the Marvel Renaissance.
Of the X-Men.
Could be.
Yep.
But
yeah, there's just something better than this.
This has been an idea we've been kicking around for a while, just because, I don't know, we hate ourselves, I guess. But we've been meaning to talk about some X-Men related things for a while, so why not talk about the best X-Men thing that's ever happened?
Mm-hmm. Is it X-Men First Class?
No.
Is it X-Men Days of Future Past?
No.
Is it X2 with Brian Cox?
No? It does.
Is it Logan?
No.
Is it Deadpool 1 or 2?
No, but it has elements of all of those things.
What could it be? You said the best thing.
Yeah. So, in 2009...
Oh, no.
almost a year removed from Iron Man, their Fox Marvel adjacent, is riding high. They love the X-Men. The X-Men.
Yeah, because that third Last Stand was so good.
Yeah. The X-Men makes the big bucks, but who of the X-Men makes the big bucks?
Hugh Jackman from Les Miserables.
Yes, Hubert Jackman himself. They said, "What if we just did a Wolverine movie, guys?" Huh?
Everybody's like, "Oh heck yeah!"
Yeah, and
right.
I'll do you one better. What if we put everyone's fan favorite character Gambit in said Wolverine movie?
Ooh, even though he doesn't have anything to do with the narrative, he's going to be in this movie?
Yeah, people love Gambit.
Perfect. Why couldn't Sabretooth get the adamantium if he has the same powers as Wolverine?
What if we got Liev Schreiber in the movie?
You're Liev Schreiber from the voice of NFL films.
Yes. What if we got Will.i.am in this movie?
You're Will.i.am from the Black Eyed Peas.
Black Eyed Peas were big in 2009.
They were what?
And lo and behold, you put what if we got Ryan Reynolds to play Wade Wilson?
What a great fan casting that will never pay off in any fashion.
You know Wade Wilson.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
Man, you put all those elements together, give me $150 million.
In 2009.
$2009 that's a lot of money. And lo and behold, X-Men Origins Wolverine is born. And
I must have to admit something.
I was tricked.
I was obsessed with this movie when I was a dumb little 2009. I was a dumb little 10-year-old when this movie came out, and
I was 18.
See, so you don't have an excuse.
I wasn't 18 yet. I'm still 17.
Sorry. Okay, so you had an excuse. So you couldn't legally vote yet, and you couldn't smoke cigarettes yet. So you were a dumb little kid, and I was a dumber, littler kid at the time. So we were. I just thought this movie was the peak when this movie came out.
I thought it was going to be. I was like, hell yeah, a Wolverine solo. Wolverine's the best part of the X-Men movies, yeah. I said when I was 17.
Right. Were you wrong?
Yeah?
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, but... was he the most popular, though?
Yes, 100%. By far. I'm feeling good. Iron Man came out like 8 months ago.
Yeah. But Iron Man just started. Wait, here's the big dogs. The Fox movies.
Yeah. I love these X-Men movies.
No way Chris Evans betrays them and does another character.
No, couldn't happen.
No way.
I was like, oh man, great, good. They're doing. I didn't even care about casting at that point. Nope. I was like, I'm pretty sure Sabretooth's a different guy from the last X-Men movie, but I like this guy's better.
Yeah,
this other guy's better.
From the Manchurian Candidate.
Yeah, I didn't care about any of that.
You're Lee Schreiber from future Ray Donovan. I'm in. I'm all the way.
They're putting Gambit in this.
Yeah, you're cool.
I'm like, yeah, Gambit. I love Gambit. X-Men the Animated Series.
There you go.
I love Gambit. They did those character singers.
Mm-hmm.
That went way too hard.
Right. I just thought this movie... I mean, I knew this movie was the greatest thing ever.
And then I watched it. Oof. Now good.
Great.
Man, yeah. I mean, this movie was plagued by so many things.
Studio oversight. Let's start there.
Studio oversight, for sure. This movie got leaked.
Oh, I remember retroactively knowing about the movie got leaked.
Yep, this movie got leaked. The visual effects are all over the place.
Some of them are just unfinished. They're just not done.
Which is
just
crazy.
Not even done. You know what the sickest thing about the visual effects not being done is? They CGI'd Wolverine's claws multiple times for most of the movie. Yeah. They didn't CG his claws for a lot of the original 3 movies. They just had him do the hand grips, and then they would only CG when they came out. And it looked infinitely better in those movies. So why don't just copy-paste, put it in this movie from the same studio?
I don't know, man.
Because that would be too difficult.
The first 20 minutes of this movie are fine. That's a hot take, I guess.
the opening sequence is a lot of people's, like, really cool opening. Does it do the Amazing Spider-Man 2 thing where the opening sequence is fire?
Opening sequence is pretty good.
Like, do the war stuff where they're just, soldiers at every war.
Yeah.
Imagine being in World War I and then being in World War II and you're just like, you guys look the exact same from 30 years ago.
Yeah. That's pretty funny, actually. But even, like, going further than that, the opening, like, heist, I guess you could call it a heist, that's pretty good. That's good stuff.
It's, like, dumb, fun stuff. Like
it's early 2000s nonsense.
But we weren't in the early 2000s anymore.
But ignore that. But
It's hard to.
But it's great establishment of, like, they should have just done the team as the movie. The team should have just been the movie.
And the team has turmoil amongst the team.
Yeah. But, like, you see...
Do more war stuff. Like, this... You know what this movie should have been a war movie. You should have approached this as like a period war movie. I think this movie plays a little bit better. Because Logan plays as a Western. It's like a noir, lone gunslinger at the end of his rope. Gunslinger... Oh, I said it twice. But you know what I mean? Like, this movie probably plays a lot better as, like, an actual period piece.
Yeah, we get to, like, the opening scene, we get to see what all of the guys can do. Fred Dukes can put his arm in a tank and...
You met her yesterday, Fred. I love her.
Shout out that guy.
Yeah. Agent Zero? What's his power, specifically?
He can shoot guns real good.
But he also is, like, flippy.
Yeah, he's like, yeah.
Like, what's his power? Like, high vert?
What's the difference between him and Deadpool? Or Wade Wilson.
Well, that's my next dumb question to ask. What's Wade's initial mutant power? Because Wade wasn't a mutant before. I don't know, dude. I don't know. This movie's gonna make me mad. What's Wade's power?
He's real good with swords.
That's his dumb power. That's like, you know how, like, the whole thing for the X-Men is, like, their powers are, like, it's like the evolution, like, it's their powers fulfills a need.
I mean, he has some level of superhuman reflexes, right?
That has to, but, like, it's dumb.
He cuts a bullet in half.
But he hits two guys behind him that he doesn't... I don't know, man.
He sees them through the reflection of his sword.
But that's stupid.
I guess he can perceive... Can he perceive time differently?
What does he have, like, prescience?
Because, like, he can see...
Oh, no, he's a reverend mother.
Well, because he can see the bullet coming off the reflection of his sword and know to cut it in half.
Is his power being, like, a funny guy? Is that actually it?
I think that's Ryan Reynolds' superpower, actually.
Okay, that's fair. I don't understand this.
Should we talk about the Deadpool in the room?
Yeah.
Just off rip?
Yeah, let's get the tough stuff out of the way.
What? Why? How?
Because it wanted to be cool.
There's nothing cool about it.
Yeah, there isn't. I think that's probably the dumbest thing you could have ever even imagined. Not only are you putting a muzzle on Deadpool, you're putting a muzzle on Ryan Reynolds? What are you doing?
Taking away, like, all of his physical anything, defining anything.
Yeah.
Shaving his head.
Yep.
Not really, but, giving him all of the powers.
It's like a Deadpool.
Ah!
Oh.
Did you like the bit when he shoots the optic blast and it makes the Deadpool diamonds on his eyes?
Nope.
They said, see, we can do Deadpool. Look.
Yeah. Nope.
Look, we gave him the eyes.
Yeah. Because it's dumb. And it's stupid. Much like the rest of this movie. It's kind of stupid.
It's so... I mean...
This might have been one of my favorite... Like, this is oxymoronic, but this might have been one of my favorite rewatches I've ever had in my whole life.
In a weird way, did this not pave the way for Deadpool that we have now?
Yeah. If we didn't get that, we wouldn't have got Deadpool. If we don't get this Wolverine movie, like, the Wolverine and Logan aren't what they are. And also the biggest offender of all of this, and maybe the greatest byproduct, it's probably Deadpool, but for my point, You know what the greatest byproduct of this? We didn't get any more of these stupid X-Men origin movies. You know what we got instead? We got the only X-Men origin movie that actually mattered. And I can argue, I'm taking Logan away from this and Deadpool. The actual X-Men movies. X-Men First Class might be the best X-Men movie that we've ever gotten. We would not have gotten that movie if we just kept rattling, because we would have got the Cyclops one, we would have got the Magneto one.
Yep.
No bueno on the Cyclops one would have been just like watching Riverdale, I think.
Also, the X-Men Origins tie-in video game is arguably the best superhero game of all time.
That's a hot take, but...
That game is incredible. It's basically God of War, but Wolverine.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad.
That game is amazing.
Not bad.
So, weirdly enough, this terrible X-Men movie is paved the way for a lot of great X-Men related things.
Sure. We wouldn't have got the modern day X-Men. You know, obviously it crashed and burned for like the modern day live action X-Men.
Sure.
But it started strong. And then they paid off with Days of Future. Days of Future Past, one of the greatest team up superhero movies of all time. That movie's money.
But man,
what were they doing in here?
As a movie,
not great.
It's not good.
Agent Zero. Oh my god. What's the coverage in this movie? Should I talk filmmaker or what should we talk? What do you want to talk about?
No, do that. This is
stupid.
Great.
It's so dumb. It just doesn't make sense. The CGI is horrible. The coverage is just dumb. I guess it follows the rule of thirds, but it's like if I explain the rule of thirds, or not the rule of thirds, it's like I've explained like the 180 rule to like a child, like this is the best that they can do. Like I just don't get it. And like, you know what pisses me off? Hugh Jackman didn't deserve this. Like, what did he do to deserve this as his, like, first... Like, I'm so glad he got Logan. Because, like, imagine, like, it was just this, and then they stopped.
There's crazy zooms.
Oh, my God, it's so stupid. It's so dumb.
There's so many crazy zooms in there.
There's so many cuts.
That scene when Zero and Stryker show up at the lumberyard, and him and Wolverine are just talking, there's, like, 60 cuts. Just in the course of this conversation, like, back to you, back to you, back to you. Then there's the weird point and zoom shot when Zero shoots the cigar out of Wolverine's mouth. There's the whoosh. They love them a whoosh sound effect.
I was losing it in the end when, you know, Stryker's just like, we need to activate the Deadpool. And then no effort in the act, he says, just do it. And I'm like, that didn't add up to the line you just said before. But they, like, cut to his face and it was like a woof. And I'm like... Was there a sound effect for a cut? And like a high-budget action superhero? What the heck was that? That doesn't belong here. This movie is ludicrously absurd. And speaking of ludicrous, who's another person that raps sometimes? It's will.i.am. will.i.am, what are you doing here, man?
What is that hat?
What is that hat?
I'm gonna beat your ass now, Victor.
And then dies. Just immediately packed up.
He plays Kestrel, by the way, just in case anyone didn't know.
Who is Wraith?
Yeah.
You're Wraith from Marvel Comics. Who cares? Doesn't matter.
Man.
He's ruined.
He gets packed up by Sabretooth. Also, Liev Schreiber is incredible in this movie.
Oh, okay. So let's actually talk about the best part of this movie, and that's Liev Schreiber.
He's so good.
You know why Liev Schreiber's so good? Because he doesn't give one crap about... He's probably the only one that read this thing, like read the screenplay and was like, this is dumb. Like, this doesn't make any sense, but I'm here because it's my job.
You know what he should have been? He should have been legacy casting. He should have been, like, Sabretooth for, like... the rest of time. He should be the Sabretooth, but Hugh Jackman was the Wolverine. But it never happened. Because he couldn't get out of this X-Men Origins thing.
And is like Race is actually I was gonna say Ray Donovan. Is Liev Schreiber like a high cinema actor? So like he probably did this, he's like never never again. Shot.
He has the proper amount of like menace as Sabretooth. When he just shows up at random places.
Can we address that? Because it's not his fault, but it's the dumb... He's just lurking. He's just everywhere.
He's always just like...
Yeah, or he's just around, just like peering and looking. And, just... and then he like shows up and like murders somebody. Oh, the funniest one is the will.i.am one. Because it's like... And like... Alright, here's... Okay, alright. Wolverine is so much less... Alright, so Hugh Jackman plays like 6 different Wolverines in this movie. He's like 6 different versions of Wolverine. Like, he's either too mad or he's not mad enough. He's either too lone gunslinger or not lone gunslinger enough. He's either too attached to somebody but not enough attached to somebody to be like, you're my wife that just died, but I'm kind of not emotional right now, so I'm just gonna walk out. And then take my shirt off and go fight my brother again. I don't know. This movie's so stupid. I can't stand this movie. This is the first time we've ever had to do this. And now I'm upset. Now I'm getting mad. Why is Will.i.am in this movie?
Because...
Why is Gambit in this movie? Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about Gambit.
You take Gambit out of the movie. The movie's the literal exact same movie. The only thing you have to do is get Wolverine to the island, which you would have just figured out a way to get to the island anyway.
Or you...
you know what? You know what makes me mad? Why? You know what? Why Wolverine's wife was murdered.
Yeah.
His friend was murdered. Were they even friends?
They were... Who?
Him and Will.i.am. Were they friends?
They were...
Co-workers? All right.
Yeah.
So, like, his co-worker, like, he's kind of cool. Like, they talk sports. You know what I mean? Like, his co-worker that he was kind of cool with gets murdered by his brother in front of him. But then he, like, jokes about the claws. I'm like, did he not just murder, like, people that you care about? Like, aren't you mad?
Yeah, you and John Wraith were about to go on a revenge mission together.
Right. And, like, you're, like, fine. Like, oh, my God, Gambit. All right. So, So, the scene starts. Gambit's got the stupid hat on, and he's in the thing, and he's like, I'm Gambit from Louisiana. And then he's just like, I'm from Nolens, whatever, right? And Wolverine's like, I'm like, Wolverine, aren't you on you're very happy for somebody that's wife was just murdered. So this movie's totally just stupid. So why is Gambit so involved with this? Did he take what happened? Wolverine was he was chatting with him. He throws the card just to, like,
wait, why is Gambit? Because Gambit escaped the island. He's the only mutant who's ever escaped the island.
Right.
So then Wolverine's like, I'm hunting down Victor Creed, and Gambit's like, I don't know who that is. And he's like, well, what about William Stryker? And Gambit's like, doesn't ring a bell. He's like, well, I know who you are, Gambit. And Gambit's like, that's it. Mm-hmm. Card to the chest, kaboom. Yeah. You know how Gambit's powers work.
And then in the alleyway, Wraith is just being murdered.
You know what I always want to tell you, John? You're predictable.
Yeah, I actually love Lee Schreiber in this. He's actually he's actually a.
I can feel your spine, Johnny. Dead. I don't know. Did he like crush it like a bamboo stick?
But like he would just be like paralyzed.
I mean, that would probably kill you.
But like, why wouldn't he just stay like in that form? Like, how long can he hold it for?
I don't know.
How strong is Victor? This is something we have to address. The power scaling in this movie makes absolutely God knows what sense. So. All right, so, okay, so the whole, whenever I do that, like, okay, so, like, this is how you know I'm worked up. So, like, here's my thing, right? So, Victor, right, is always, like, stronger than Logan in this movie, right? Like, he's always just the stronger older brother.
Until he's not.
But that should happen probably later in the third act where Wolverine, like, gathers himself and rallies and big third act rise up. They do this, like, an hour into the movie. So, like, why is he afraid of Victor to any capacity? I don't know. It's not like he can hurt him anymore. He's got the adamantium skeleton. What's Victor's motivation in this movie? And why does he have the worst motivation in any superhero movie ever as a villain?
I mean, apparently it's revealed at the end of the movie that the whole reason he signed up with Stryker was he was going to be Weapon X, I think.
Okay.
And then Stryker's just like, we ran the tests. You wouldn't survive it.
That might have.
I think that's his motivation in the entire movie. But also, if that's his motivation, why did he put Logan on the track to be Weapon X by fake killing Silver Fox?
I just don't. It doesn't make an.
Unless Stryker double crossed him.
Oh, Stryker double crosses everybody.
Every single person in this movie.
There's not one person he didn't double cross. And that one general that gets skewered by him, maybe the worst death in the movie. Because, dude, you didn't see that coming from a mile away.
The big sword on the table?
The big sword on the table. He turns around to the table, picks up it's just, I know you're older, but buddy.
I need to protect the country from all threats. Foreign.
So we were just watching the clip before, and I said, if he says domestic, I'm going to lose. And then he's like, domestic. I'm like, ugh.
Foreign and domestic. But, no, to your Gambit, what they could have done, they could have gotten rid of several goofy things if you just take Gambit out of the movie, because then John doesn't have to die, and he can fly Logan to the island.
It's totally and then he can get killed on the island, and who cares? It's totally the dumbest thing.
Yeah, Victor can kill him there.
And like I said, you know what? It doesn't make sense because it's totally off, because and it happens multiple times. Wolverine shows up, and they do the run at each other, and it comes out differently, but, Wolverine's like all worked up and mad because his wife was just murdered. We'll get to that in a second. Jesus Christmas. But his wife is murdered. So he sees the man that murders his wife. He's like, ooh, shiny. He's like, ooh, they are shiny. Let's fight for it. You're not mad. And then Gambit just shows up out of nowhere. I got my stick from the comics. Look at me. And I'm like, okay. And then they're friends. John's murdered. He can beat Victor anytime he wants, so I don't know why this is an issue anymore.
Like I told you, he is about to kill Sabretooth, and then Gambit decides now's the time to get my lick back.
Because the screenwriters said it's time to get my lick back.
Like, he could have, like, if he escaped this facility, right, he would recognize Sabretooth, and he'd be like, oh, shoot, this guy that I just met is about to kill this other guy that tortured me. I should just let this play out. But no, he knocked me through a wall, and I'm mad about it.
Because that screen, because
I'm Gambit.
That TV spot goes hard, and we needed to shoot this scene.
I need to do the thing with the shockwave. Kablam! This movie needs a third act. Kablam!
God, it's so bad.
And then him and Wolverine fight.
The island's so stupid. All the mutants are at the island. Oh, you're Emma Frost and Cyclops and the other one from X-Men comics, aren't you? It's taking my bit and making it dumb.
There's also, Cyclops is in this. God. Cyclops gets a
They had the audacity to put Cyclops in, like, major marketing for this movie. He has, like, 6 lines, maybe, of dialogue in this
Cyclops
movie.
gets a subplot in this movie.
His subplot is hearing Professor X?
Oh, we gotta get to that, too.
Jesus, dude. Oh my god.
We didn't even get to the fact that this can't exist in the X-Men continuity, movie-wise. No shot.
You're telling me the movie that literally follows this movie has Emma Frost alive in the 60s. This movie takes place in the 80s, and Emma Frost is visibly younger in this movie than she was. We didn't even talk about Wolverine's wife.
Silver Fox.
You're Silver Fox from the X-Men. Shut up. I hate this bit now. Now this bit gives me...
Because that's all this movie is.
This movie's giving me anxiety. Okay, so...
The Blob is in this.
Okay, right. The Blob is... Who cares?
Did you just call me Blob?
You're Blob from X-Men comics. Okay.
I said Bub.
Here's the thing.
I get it.
They boxed.
They did box. I like that bit. Will.i.am's funny in that bit.
Alright, so she's murdered, right? Wolverine has heightened senses, right? I don't care how emotional you are. Dog, your brother Sabretooth is a psycho. Right. There's not one cut, there's just blood.
Yeah.
So you pick her body up and you're like...
He's the worst forensics analyst ever.
He is. Batman would be disappointed. So you look down and you're like, this has got to be fake blood. No, it probably was real blood. I'm not going to lie.
It was probably real blood.
But
it was probably blood from Dominic Moynihan's character.
That's hilarious. Anyway, you know what's sucks even more about that? If his senses are so good, you've been with this woman for how long you couldn't notice that wasn't her blood?
You would think. I'm pretty sure that's the thing Wolverine can do.
There was no cut marks. That's even an issue with this movie. You get stabbed and the knives or swords or claws just look clean. Or CGI.
Deadpool was decapitated and there was no blood.
Maybe he was full of goo.
But yeah, Silver Fox dies. And then, plot twist, Act 3 plot twist, she's alive and she was working with Stryker the whole time.
Yeah.
For what? Oh, because of her sister.
Emma Frost, who's alive in the 60s and 80s. I don't know. God. Okay, so Stryker... Oh my god. So Wolverine opens all the cages up. And Cyclops is like, I'm still in this movie because I got to set up my own movie that nobody's probably going to watch if it comes out. Somebody told me to go left. And the funniest joke of the movie is when Emma Frost is like, you idiot, you're blind, you can't see. She didn't say it like that, but she should have.
It's like, just trust me. I heard Patrick Stewart in my
Yeah,
head. You're
Patrick Stewart from Next Generation.
You're Patrick Stewart from the first Dune.
Yeah, right. And you're James McAvoy, also from the middle Dune? You didn't think I was going there. This Dune X-Men pipeline is much clearer than I thought it was. Anyway, back at the ranch. Back on 3 Mile Island. Radiation,
get back to the crazy scene with Stryker and Silver Fox and Logan, because it's crazy.
Right, so Logan's just like, I'm going to use mercy. And then, triple cross. Victor's just in the pipes, just like peeking. He's just like, mad, upset, whatever. I don't care.
He did get very upset.
Yeah. And Victor's just like, where's my adamantium? And he's just like, the test results came back.
Stryker's like, when Logan just leaves.
Yeah, Logan's just like, my God.
He got sad. He got sad about what I'm
he was just like, my wife's dead, so I'm gone. And then just walks out.
He just walks out, and Victor's like, you can't let him leave. And Stryker's like, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
For some reason? Isn't Logan supposed to be, like, the most dangerous person?
Well, he's got Weapon 11 now, so it doesn't matter.
I guess.
And And he has the bullets. He has the bullets in the next room. Just go get the gun and kill him if you want him dead. But I guess he doesn't care because it's not a part of the plans anymore.
And then Victor's like, give me the adamantium. And Stryker's like...
Wait. I got a super hot take. Why is Wolverine in this movie? This whole 3 Mile Island crap has nothing to do with Wolverine on paper because he already has everything he had to make Weapon 11, so just do the Weapon 11 stuff and the movie's over?
Well, no, because he needed Wolverine's DNA for the final piece.
But, like, he didn't get that when he had him as a soldier all those years ago?
Nah. Well, he didn't know he was going to make Weapon 11 all those years ago.
Well, he should have.
I want to see how he managed to wrangle Deadpool.
I'm not even mad about that. What scientist made it possible for you to mix all these mutant genes together? In the 80s?
I don't know.
This is stupid. This is a stupid movie.
I'm curious. I'm curious to know how Deadpool got kidnapped in the first place.
Yeah, you don't think Wade was standing on business? Like, you don't think Victor's getting limbs cut off? I know he's probably going to grow them back. Which brings you to the second point. What do you mean that he couldn't get the adamantium?
Because he ran the tests.
What? That's the craziest line of dialogue I've ever heard. I ran the tests. They came back. You can't get the adamantium.
You're not strong enough.
You're not strong enough. I'm like, he literally has been stronger than him the whole movie until he
Or at the very least, as strong as him.
As strong as him. And he got the... What does that mean?
He doesn't have the motivation to survive it.
What? Victor? Man thought it was ticklish when he got a firing squad in Vietnam, and he can't survive that. But Wolverine can? Who's emotional and cares about fables about Wolverines running around the sun? I don't know, man. This movie's stupid.
So then Sabretooth... Here we go. So Sabretooth grabs... Well, because Silver Fox runs up and she's like, he tricked us.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the thing with Silver Fox and Victor.
That's we're getting to it.
Okay.
Because she tries to basically tell Victor, like, Stryker's actually the bad guy. And Victor's like, ugh!
Yeah.
Does his classic, I'm going to murder you now, like I did to everyone else in this movie.
Yeah.
So it's established that Silver Fox has the mutant power that whoever she touches, she can manipulate, including Wolverine.
Right. The one that was so much stronger than you that could receive the adamantium and you couldn't.
So Sabretooth has her dead to rights, and she grabs him and says, let me go. And he just says, your mind games don't work on me. How?
How, Sway?
What did he do? How? He doesn't even... There's no explanation. He just says it doesn't work. Psych. That'd be like if Iron Man got attacked by Magneto, and Magneto like tried to crunch Iron Man like a Rubik's Cube, and it just didn't work, and Iron Man would be like, your magnetism doesn't work on me. And
then it ends because obviously it probably explained that his suit isn't exactly whatever crap they pick. They just say, this is even dumber than that. This is just way stupid.
It just doesn't work.
It just doesn't make any sense.
So she screams. And
then Wolverine's my dead wife that's alive that I didn't...
Their girlfriend, boyfriend.
They were like fiance. I don't know. They read each other fables to fall asleep. That's pretty.
And then he walks in. He's back.
Victor! And he rips his shirt off for some reason. Off screen?
Because I told you they had to get him in the suit.
You know what his suit is in this movie? A tank top and jeans.
Yeah, that's the classic Wolverine look.
What classic Wolverine? Don't patronize me on here. Don't do that to me. That's a classic Wolverine look.
It is the classic Wolverine look. Remember the end of Logan?
If you're Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. That's what we're talking about. Victor! And then, like...
He does that 98 times in this movie.
It's great. It hits every time.
Hugh Jackman did not deserve this.
And then he just bodies Sabretooth. Just destroys
He did it like multiple times in this movie. Like Sabretooth like becomes so inert at some point in this movie.
But this one's the worst because like they charge each other. Wolverine just plows through them and drives them out a window, and they crash down.
Was the costume department on strike when this movie came out? Because every time somebody does something, they look perfect when they come out of the... Like she gets choked and then her hair's perfect.
Yeah.
Like Wolverine gets rolling through a glass thing, hits a dusty ground, and all the dust comes up, and he's just fine. Like,
and then he's got Sabretooth dead to rights again, and then he's just like, nah.
No, I'm gonna do my own thing.
Well, she yells from the balcony. She's like, you're not a monster! Or an animal, whatever it is. And Sabretooth's like, oh, yes, you are. And Wolverine's like, I'm not, though.
Shh. Goodbye. Goodbye, brother.
Goodbye, brother. I surely won't see you again.
Little brother.
So that's when he does the bit where he frees all the prisoners.
It's just
he runs across.
It's so funny. Even when I was a kid, that used to crack me up for no reason. Like he's just running. The music swells. He still looks perfect.
The most forgettable score maybe in the history of movies.
It's just so insert. It's so lazy.
They all come out, and then Wolverine looks at Silver Fox. She looks at him, and then he extends his hand dramatically, like, follow me.
You're the woman character, so you need to hold my hand to run across the hallway.
And then he, like, it's weird, like, they do, like, a far zoom of the two of them running, and he's, like, kind of jogging, and she's, like,
full sprinting.
And then, dun dun, dun 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 dun, the door opens.
Wade? Wow,
No, we don't
Striker
even
found a way to shut you
We
up.
don't even get that far yet. Like, the door opens.
Oh, yeah.
It's this weird bald...
This really is just the Duel of the Fates scene, because he says, go, get out of here.
It's this weird bald guy with red pants on, shirtless. Striker's watching this through, like, the
clearest security monitor from 2009 ever.
And then you realize Weapon 11 is Wade Wilson.
Wade?
He's got swords for arms, and he's Baraka from Mortal Kombat. He's got swords for arms instead of claws. Oh boy. And then it's on. Wolverine's like, well, I've got this. And then you realize, Weapon 11 is a problem. Because Stryker types in engage, and then it's fight time, big fight time. And then they fight, big fight. It's not a particularly good fight, but it's a fight. And then Wolverine gets the bright idea to climb up to the top of the nuclear reactor thing. And then he's like, let's see it come up here. And then you realize, oh no, Weapon 11 has all of the powers. He uses Wraith's teleport powers to teleport up and continues to kick Wolverine around. And he's got Wolverine dead to rights. And then Sabretooth shows up.
Yep.
And he's like,
I'm reformed.
No, that's not what he
really.
says. He says, no one can kill you except me. Then he pulls Wolverine up, and then we get a great callback to the beginning of the movie when he goes back to back. Wade's zipping around, teleporting. He only for someone who has all of the powers, he seems to only have 2 of the powers.
Sure.
3 of the powers.
Well, give it a second for the third one.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know where he got all of the powers. But he has at least 3 of the powers. So they're fighting, and Wolverine's like, I got him. And Sabretooth's like, no, you don't.
Mm-hmm. They hit him. They're like, all right, they got it. They got a good nick in. They got one good, and then he teleports to the other side. They're like, come over here.
Second phase of the boss fight. Or third phase. Third phase of the boss fight.
Let me turn my eyes into the Deadpool mask eyes.
Look, guys, it's the Deadpool mask eyes.
And it's the Cyclops beams from probably the X-Men Origin Cyclops movie that's going to come out at some point.
And they're heat vision eyes. They're not optic blast eyes. Because they're just cutting through things.
Yeah, and Wolverine's claws, like, ignite and become super hot.
So Sabretooth's fighting.
Oh, my God.
And then Wolverine jumps up and just cuts Deadpool's head off. And then his eyes, the optic eyes are still going as he's falling into the reactor.
It destroys the reactor. They do the Sparta kick. He Sparta kicks him in the oh my god.
And then Gambit shows up back up. Like Sabretooth just leaves. I don't know what happened.
How are the eyes still going? I don't get it. His head's gone.
He's decapitated, right? Yeah. So Gambit shows back up. Sabretooth leaves. Adios, little brother. So Sabretooth leaves. Gambit inexplicably shows back up, and Wolverine goes...
Why wasn't he already back in New Orleans? What is he doing there?
I'm telling you, he must have just been circling the plane around the island.
He did his side quest mission thing, and now he can go back and be like a playboy in New Orleans. I don't understand.
Wolverine tells him, there's a bunch of kids trying to escape the facility. I need you to go find them and get them out of here. And Gambit's like, okay. So Gambit runs all the way across the island.
You know what's also really dumb? So Stryker gets the gun, the thing.
Oh, yeah.
We got to get the memories away from Wolverine because, we got to make
No. Because this gun is built up as the only thing that can kill him.
But you know what's stupid? The nurse, the doctor walks in the room and she's just like, no.
You know this can't kill him, right?
And he's like, but why would you, how do either of you know?
And then Stryker goes, I know, but his memories won't grow back.
That's the dumbest thing ever.
It's a memory. It's a mind killer bullet.
No. It's just an adamantium shell bullet. And then in Logan, he's just like, I was thinking about killing myself with this thing. Which one is it?
It's the memory killing bullet.
That's the dumbest thing in human history.
So Gambit runs all the way across the facility just in time to watch the kids get on a plane. Professor X is there. Hello, I'm Charles Xavier.
From horrible
CGI.
Horrible CGI.
I have my legs. My legs work.
Yep. Oh my god. How is his legs working? They should have been gone.
He also can't possibly fit all those kids on that one helicopter, but that's besides the point.
Maybe he can.
So Gambit gets all the way over there just in time to do absolutely nothing.
Yeah, he just looks, nods.
And he's like, okay, all right.
I trust you. You're bald and stoic.
Yeah. Also, why didn't Gambit just go with Xavier? Why did he run all the way back to Wolverine?
I got a tick on my new friend. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, Gambit, just go with...
Go back to New Orleans. It's fine.
Or go with Xavier. You're Gambit from the X-Men.
Man, like, you got two options here, and like both options have to be better than checking in on the indestructible man with metal bone claws
That you just met?
That you just met.
Maybe be in the X-Men Gambit?
Or
maybe?
just go home, buddy. Like, go get a good night's sleep. Like, you're done. You did everything you needed
The Gambit gun has to run all the way back across
Oh,
town.
the sequence where Stryker's trying to kill Wolverine or wipe his memory is the funniest thing. It's the little intercut, because the movie making's bad, where Stryker's just stumbling away. Like, he just...
I think he was trying to kill him. Because he shoots him in the chest, like, multiple
times. That's not gonna wipe a memory as a chest shot.
Yeah.
This makes no sense.
Well, he meets back up with Silver Fox, and he's like...
She's like, I love you, and he's just like...
she's like dying.
Yeah, because...
She got shot?
Did she?
Or stabbed? Something happened. Oh yeah, she got shot in the firefight. When Cyclops is like, let me point him at me. Or point me at him, he says. And Emma Frost takes his blindfolded up, and he's like, nah! He does you know how Cyclops is?
Yeah. You know how Cyclops be doing?
You know how Cyclops is? He just fires off optic blasts indiscriminately.
Gambit Ex Machina for Wolverine is hilarious. You know what's funnier about it too? The way that the pillar was positioned, like, would have been like a Roadrunner, like Looney Tunes, like it would have circularized like around him, so it wouldn't have hit him, and it would be like, phew, that was close. And like Gambit wasted his special ability on that.
But yeah, him and
why is he there? Why is he there? Why is Gambit? Why didn't he leave? He could have been gone. What did you go back to save?
So Silver Fox and Wolverine have a come to Jesus moment, and he's like, I love you. She's like, I know, like Han Solo. And then Stryker shoots Wolverine in the back twice, and he's like, Victor! Just kidding, he doesn't say that. But
yeah, he should have. Stryker?
He does get real mad though, and he charges at Stryker. Stryker's stumbling, standing.
Dude, he's so scared. The first bullet doesn't go. He's like, oh shoot, I gotta go, man.
And then Wolverine ramps up, jumps off a thing, and Stryker shoots him right in the face.
A horrible move by Wolverine too.
Yeah.
Why would you jump up like that to leave yourself vulnerable? I have the high ground. Like, what are you doing, buddy?
He's just a normal man with a gun.
You fought in like 17 wars, and this guy gets you.
Yeah,
the nerd from the science gets you. Come on, man.
Stryker shoots him in the head and then double taps him.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, cold by Stryker. One thing about Stryker in this movie, this dude does stand on business the whole movie.
Shoots Wolverine in the head, and then he walks over to Silver Fox.
I'm gonna murder you because I love betraying people. That's my arc. Not my hatred for mutant. They took the whole hatred for mutants out of this arc for Sabretooth. Sabretooth.
For Stryker?
Does Sabretooth hate mutants? He sure does capture heaps of them.
And kills heaps of them.
Kills heaps of them.
So he gets
Sabretooth's deal?
What's
his deal?
He's gone.
But what's his deal?
He's just a psycho.
He's not in the beginning of the movie, like, as kids. Like, he's
he developed psycho tendencies.
But I just don't understand. Like, why can't he just go be
what else I don't understand? Stryker, who has all this knowledge of what all these mutants can do, gets within grabbing distance of the mutant you don't want to get grabbed by. He could have shot her from like 30 yards away. He shot Wolverine in the face.
He had a marksman on Hall of Fame. Like, this guy was Chris Kyle. Like, just any range.
He probably could have shot Silver Fox from where he shot Wolverine from. But no, he had to get all on her grill. And then all of a sudden you see the gun start turning towards his head, and you're like, oh no, she got him. She got him. And she goes, I should make you pull the trigger, but I'm not going to, because that would make me know better than you.
How's Charles walking?
Maybe it's a psychic projection of Charles.
That would have been much funnier. Who's flying the plane? What's the funniest X-Men that could be flying this plane?
Cyclops.
No, not like that. But like, who's the funniest one that could have flown the plane to the island? Morph? Oh, it is Morph. That's why he's walking. It's just Morph.
Headcanon, it's Morph.
It's Morph. We knew it. The CGI is so bad when they're running. What is Gambit doing there? Gambit ran across the entire island for nothing.
You know who could have flown the helicopter back? Gambit.
Gambit could have flown the helicopter because he's a dude. I just wish you saw when they're all running to Professor X. This might be some of the worst looking thing I've ever seen in a movie. It's disgusting to look at.
So yeah, Silver Fox grabs Stryker and she's like, I want you to walk for the rest of eternity?
Shouldn't he have died? You know what I've noticed about the entirety of the X-Men movies? Stryker should be dead 48 times over, but somehow he's just like a cock. He just keeps surviving.
She says, walk until your feet bleed and then keep walking. And then she just leaves? Or she dies? What happens to her?
So I think she dies.
Does she die?
I'm pretty sure she dies.
Go to the end. I know you're watching it. Go to the end.
Yeah.
What happens to her? Does she die?
Yeah, I think. Wolverine checks her pulse. He's like, "Who is this woman that just died?" That's
oh right, because Gambit comes back.
He runs across. He looks at all the kids. Yo, Gambit didn't even help them get to find Charles.
That's what I'm saying.
Then Gambit came. He saves Wolverine, runs across the island, comes back, and he could have just been drinking a margarita at a cool bar in New Orleans. That's all I'm saying. Could have been gone the whole time.
Gambit got some cardio work in this day. So Gambit shows back
and then
up.
Wolverine also just leaves.
So Gambit,
there's no questions why. And then the movie ends. The movie just ended.
He has 2 questions for Gambit.
What did he ask him?
He says, "Who are you?
Who are you?
And who am I?"
And that's it. And then he just walks. He's just like, well, Gambit's just like, didn't we just have like a whole third act fight?
Gambit's like, well, Wolverine goes, "Who are you?" And Gambit's like, "I'm a friend. Like, we're cool."
Shouldn't have Wolverine reverted back to the animalistic tendencies? That would have been an ending of this movie. He just starts going crazy.
Decapitates Gambit.
Oh my god, that's an ending. Get us in the writer's room.
And then he's like, "We're friends." And then Logan's like, "What's my name?" And he's like, "Logan is your name." And then Wolverine walks over to Silver Fox and he checks her pulse. And Gambit's like, "You know her?" And Wolverine goes, "No." And then walks away. Doesn't he look at the dog tag too that says Wolverine on it?
Oh yeah, of course. That was a contractual obligation to do that.
And then he walks away. And then the movie
What's
ends.
the statute of limitations on her powers? Because remember, Stryker gets to some road, and then they find him. They're like, "Colonel Stryker, the heck are you doing, brother?"
That's the first. This movie has 2 post-credit scenes, by the way. That's set up nothing.
Wait, what was that for? The heck was that? Wait, what was that for?
What?
The Stryker stuff.
The first post-credit scene?
Yeah, like what did that do for anything? I don't get it. I don't know.
Colonel Stryker, where are you going?
Where are you going, boss?
And he's like, I'm
snapped out of it.
I am Stryker. Great.
Thanks, soldier.
And then
you want to be a part of Weapon 12?
And then we get a second post-credit scene, and it's the rubble, and you see Deadpool's arm, and the sword retracts, and then it pans to his head, and his eyes are open, and he goes, "Shh." And then the movie ends.
That post-credit scene floored me when I was a kid.
And you're like, what does that mean?
You're Deadpool surely they won't bring you back.
Surely Ryan Reynolds won't leak, quote, Ryan Reynolds, unquote, won't leak test footage of a Deadpool movie that was in development.
Why did they play this as a post-credit scene with Stryker? I don't get it.
Was it supposed to set up like the next X-Men Origins movie?
But which one?
I don't know.
They wanted him in questioning for the death of General.
Oh, the general that he stabbed.
But like, why was that at the very end? Like, why was that the last part of the movie? That's stupid.
Yeah.
Oh God. Who's your favorite Stryker?
Him, actually.
Unfortunately, it is him. Obviously, Brian Cox is Brian Cox, so they have some nerve putting Cyclops as like one of the main guys in this movie. But Will.i.am's not on the poster. That's I'm not gonna say it.
That's gotta be racist.
This guy's gotta be racist. There's no way. Do we have to give this one awards?
No. The whole movie is just undeserving. We don't have to give this movie awards. I refuse, actually.
Is this the first time we're not giving out awards? Out of anger?
Yeah. It doesn't deserve it.
Spite?
But Liev Schreiber's great.
Should I give you like 3 awards at random?
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna think about it. I'm just gonna pick 3.
Yeah, just pick 3 random ones.
Pick 3 random ones. They're not gonna make any sense, but it's gonna be absolutely hilarious, and I actually can't wait. What's the best ones to give you? Let's do this. What is the best thing to do? Favorite line?
Ooh, I can feel your spine, Johnny.
I was gonna pick from the same scene where he's like, "Ooh, shiny." Did you like murder my wife?
Oh no! I got one. I almost forgot. He holds up Wolverine's dog tags. I want new ones. What do you want him to say? Wolverine.
That's the name of the movie.
I want him to say X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Origins Wolverine. Best NPC? Gambit?
No.
Wait. Is it Wolverine himself?
No, the best NPC is the couple. It's the couple that talks to Dominic Monaghan's character, and he's like, does the light bulb gimmick, and the guy's like, freak. And then like the girlfriend like looks at him like longingly. Like I thought she was gonna like end up in his trailer like when Victor showed up, but like just nothing came of that.
So we did best line, best NPC, favorite cameo. I guess that's a good one for this one.
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart is just so dumb and just.
But also the guy that might be Quicksilver, but may not be Quicksilver.
Is my favorite cameo Wolverine? Like, is that a crazy piece to put?
My favorite cameo is at the African Warlord.
Sure. Is my favorite cameo Ryan Reynolds? God, this movie. Favorite character?
Sabretooth, ironically.
He is the best. There's just no fighting that, unfortunately. Unless you're Wolverine, you will fight that multiple times. Victor! Stryker! Silver Fox!
Too many
He didn't
syllables.
do that one. Best set?
Oh, Jesus
Just
Christ.
kidding. We don't have to do that one. Best exposition dump? The explanation of the weapons program?
The Deadpool.
The Deadpool.
Whoop, whoop.
Oh, you said the thing. That's the name of the future movie. Favorite planet? Just kidding. Saddest moment? When the movie started.
When that old woman got sniped from 50 yards away.
For no reason.
Yeah, what did he say? Weapon X killed 2 civilians?
Yeah.
No, you killed... Why did you have to lie to Stryker about that?
To get... Stryker already hated him. Like, what's the point?
Stryker was the one that sent Zero there.
Yeah, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. That whole sequence is really stupid, too. It looks bad. Oh, can you talk about the scene with the claws where he like has the revelation about his metal claws? Because it's gruesome to look at. Not gruesome in a way like Logan's gruesome in a good way.
It's crazy. I don't like it. Like, what happened?
But why is he like doing that with the claws? Like, I get it, but why does it look that like of any time you could have just put the claws in his hands? Because you didn't have to have them come out of his... Like, you picked that time to do the worst CGI in the whole movie, and that's saying something.
It's horrible. It looks genuinely horrible.
It looks... You know what's the worst part about it looking horrible? It looks unfinished, which is the worst type of... Because there's no effort. It's unfinished. They didn't finish it.
Yeah.
The whole middle of this movie is a fever dream.
Yeah. All right. I'm done.
Yeah, me too. Favorite moment?
No.
The ending?
No. I'm putting my foot down. No.
Oh, you know what my favorite source material callback? When he gets the freaking motorcycle from the old man, and then the old man's murdered.
Yo. He's like, I got a 48. I got it off the line. He's like, little young for that, aren't you, son?
So that was like when Captain America took the Quinjet. That's the same thing Logan was going to do to him. Son, just don't. What a film.
What a picture.
What a picture. These are what the pictures are, actually.
Yeah.
These are what the pictures are all about.
So we've done the best X-Men movie.
Oh, it was 64. So Wolverine was about 158. He was about 370 years old by this time.
And that's X-Men Origins Wolverine. The best X-Men movie, some say.
Who's these some?
I don't know.
William Stryker? This is the best X-Men movie.
Because I was in it. I was the villain of this movie.
This makes me miss Brian Cox. Let's finish what we started, Wolverine! We gotta talk about X2 one day. Because that movie's actually good at what it does.
Let me see if there's some critical...
Oh, can you do the thing where you find the reviews for the movie and then you read them and then I laugh? Because that's a good bit.
Let's see if I can find some, yeah.
Trying to think if I have any more dumb questions for this movie on why I hate it. What have you been doing while you look for these?
Oh, I finished Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Goated game.
It's unbelievable. It's like the last 8 hours are just incredible. I couldn't believe it. I finished...
Just like when you were watching X-Men Origins.
I finished my playthrough at like 100... I think it's 102 hours. And I did just about everything except for the stuff that's locked behind a second playthrough. Like there's certain like combat challenges and stuff that you can only do the second time. So once again, just like Final Fantasy VII Remake, it incentivizes its New Game Plus, which I really like when games do that, because I typically don't do New Game Pluses. So I like when games like give you incentive to actually do them again. I mean, not that I wasn't going to anyway. But yeah, that game's amazing. Definitely right now for me is front runner for Game of the Year. Cody Christian, I think, has a good chance of winning some stuff for his performance as Cloud. He does a lot of really cool things throughout the game. Plays a lot of different. There's a lot of. You'll understand this kind of reference, but I mean, a lot of people will. But there's a lot of Anakin Skywalker in the end game of his performance, where he does a lot of character things. Like he does a lot of voice switching with his work that I really liked. But speaking of X-Men Origins, Bill Gibron of AMC's FilmCritic.com gave the film a positive 4.0 out of 5 stars.
What?
Saying that although Hugh Jackman is capable of carrying even the most mediocre effort, he single-handedly makes X-Men Origins Wolverine an excellent start to the summer 2009 season. He predicted there will be purists who balk at how Hood and his screenwriters mangle and manipulate the mythology, and further said that any ending which leaves several characters unexplained and unaccounted for can't really seal the full entertainment deal. That doesn't sound like a 4 out of 10 to me, Bill.
No, you stipulated why the movie wasn't a 4 out of 10 and then proceeded to give it a 4 out of 10.
Tom Charity...
Wait. He said this was a great start to a 2009 fest?
2009 summer, yeah.
Wasn't this the same year that Avatar came out?
Yeah.
What is this guy yapping about?
Tom Charity of CNN, serviceable but inescapably redundant. This Wolverine movie does just enough to keep the X-Men franchise on life support, but the filmmakers will have to come up with some evolutionary changes soon if it's going to escape extinction.
Come on, man. You're better than a pun at this point.
A.O. Scott of the New York Times expressed that X-Men Origins Wolverine will most likely manage to cash in on the popularity of the earlier episodes, but is the latest evidence that the superhero movie is suffering from serious imaginative fatigue.
The MCU said, watch this.
Yeah. On a more negative note, Philip French of The Observer...
Wait, those were positive?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Said that the film's dull, bone-crushing special effects stuff is of interest to only hardcore fans who've probably read it all in Marvel Comics.
That seems targeted.
Yeah. What is that about?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Oh, Roger Ebert,
our guy,
the legend, gave the film 2 stars out of 4 and asked about the title character, why should I care about this guy? He feels no pain and nothing can kill him, so therefore he's essentially a story device for action sequences.
No lies were told?
James Berardolini gave Wolverine 2.5 out of 4, calling the action scenes competently executed but not memorable, and considering that when dealing with Wolverine's past, there's little creativity evident in the way those blanks are filled in, and that the revelations made Wolverine less compelling.
Jesus.
The aggregation on Rotten Tomatoes has an approval rating of 38%.
Not bad.
With an average rating of 5.1 out of 10.
Higher than Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice.
The site's critical consensus reads, though Hugh Jackman gives his all, he can't help X-Men Origins Wolverine overcome a cliche-ridden script and familiar narrative. CinemaScore gave the film an B+ average.
A B+?
Mm-hmm. Isn't that bad, though, for CinemaScore?
Sure, but it's too high for this movie.
Richard Corliss of Time commented on the film standing among other Marvel films, saying that it is an okay, not great Marvel movie that tells the early story of the prime X-Man and attempts to make it climax in a perfect coupling with the start of the known trilogy, and also said that superhero mythologies can be so complicated, only a lonely comic book reading kid could make sense of it all. Ouch.
That hurt a bit.
Peter Rayner of the Christian Science Monitor praised Jackman's performance, saying that Hugh Jackman demonstrates that you can segue effortlessly from a tuxedoed song and dance man at the Oscars to a feral gent with adamantium claws and berserker rage. Claudia Puig of USA Today considered the movie well acted, with spectacular action and witty one-liners.
Just read that one more time for me.
X-Men Origins Wolverine is well acted, with spectacular action and witty one-liners.
Just one more time.
It's well acted, with spectacular action.
Spectacular action.
And witty one-liners.
Did she, go to the future and watch Logan instead?
Man, what have you been doing?
Trying to forget this movie existed,
Nope.
I guess.
Not possible.
It was possible to do that. What have I been doing? I've been, like I said, I've been trucking through Jedi Survivor, a bit, game I quite enjoy that narrative, quite enjoy that universe, quite enjoy Cameron Monaghan's performance in there too, which is pretty dang good. Trying to think what else. I haven't been doing too much. I mean, you know, I'm in an X-Men kick, and you know, I think what I'm gonna do now is I might be in a bit of a comic bit. I didn't step away from comics, but I haven't been ingratiated in the comics that I was. I had a great run. The X-Men show that I just watched earlier today really just helped with that too, with confirming that I really want to start, you know, just get back into, you know, reading some comics. Obviously I'm probably not going to read anything new because it's the worst. In my opinion, that's one of the worst ways to read comics, unless it's like a number one of like a new run on a character. Don't read the modern stuff. Find a run, find a character you like, find a run. That's a good way to start.
Yes.
I'm probably I might reread the hidden stuff.
I think now's a great time to do some X-Men.
Yeah, I mean, the Claremont stuff is so good. It is older, so it's a little tough sometimes. But the Claremont stuff is really good. I might reread Mr. Miracle. It's just such an incredible book. That, you know, really changed my life, for lack of a better term. I'm trying to think of anything. Maybe kick through the Daredevil, the Chip Zdarsky Daredevil. That stuff's really good. I do want to read some older stuff though. Support your local comic book shop too, brothers and sisters and others.
Yeah, I agree. Next week, I don't know.
Maybe we just do Wolverine. Who knows? It's either Wolverine.
We're doing X-Men Origins Wolverine again.
Yeah, we're gonna do it twice. But this time we're gonna lie and say what if this is the perspective? This is the greatest superhero movie ever. I just thought the scene where, you know, your wife died, even though she didn't have any claw marks in her. And I
can't believe you just overlooked it.
She looks awfully clean for somebody that was just mangled by my psychotic brother.
Like, you know how Sabretooth kills people. And if she's covered in blood, it's not like he snapped her neck. Or like anything like that. I don't know, man.
There's no rules or laws.
Nah.
I you know what I think? I think the Wolverine movie takes place in like a divergent timeline. Like, I don't think that actually takes place in like the actual Fox piece of the sacred timeline. Maybe Deadpool 3 will just incinerate that universe, that little sect of the What was the thing? What was their canon event?
Who?
In like that universe. Was it will.i.am being in there? That's what I'm leaving it at. Alright, do the socials, because that was funny.
You can follow us on Twitter at ProjectINF_pod. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram
At the Project Infinite Pod.
Like I said, next week we'll figure it out. We'll definitely talk about X-Men again. X-Men 97.
Yeah, we're on an X-Men kick now.
It might be in our kind of weekly rotation where we kind of just chat about the episode. And we'll definitely talk about the full season in May when the full season wraps up, because it's, like we said, it's pretty spectacular stuff, these first two episodes.
Yeah. Very impressed. Very, very impressed.
So we'll do that. And then, you know, we'll see what happens. We'll see where we go with next week. But until then, from me,
Careful. Don't say more, I'm going to get really mad. If you say more or will.i.am I'm leaving and I'm never coming back. I'm starting my own rival podcast. I'm going to do the Sabretooth to your Wolverine podcast, actually. Hey, don't call me Sabretooth either.
From the Cyclops on the podcast.
No, which one?
The animated one.
Oh, okay, perfect. I thought you meant from X-Men Origins Wolverine.
the Ray Chase Cyclops.
Okay, perfect. I'll take that. He's a good leader. Stands on business.
He does stand on business. And their sequence is just
awesome. It's so
God,
good.
I loved it so much. But yeah, until then, we will see you next week. Goodbye.
To me, my X-Men.